Yeah. Unfortunately, at this point. Yeah, I said unfortunately at this point. I've always liked a lot of his speeches and a lot of the things that he said, and I've always thought that like all the controversies around him have always been kind of stupid. But this one's not really easy to justify at all. Uh, all right, have you heard anything yet about what's going on? Okay, so all right, you just want to check YouTube real quick.
All right. Yes. Okay. Focus right. Yeah. Can you check YouTube? I'm just not seeing it. Oh, audio input capture. I was seeing mic in odds as something else. Okay, this was probably fine this whole time. Um. Okay. Well, I'm gonna assume it was fine this whole time and not do introductions again. Beyond saying that you were a fan of Graham Platner. And
All
you're
right.
Alex Seacrest, left-wing political
Yep.
historian. This is Old America. You're a guest star in here, and you have your own stream going on as well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, typically whenever you see both of us together, we're both going to be streaming. Um, but yeah, so what ended up happening, and the reason why people are saying that he's considering dropping out is because he actually canceled a bunch of his shit. But he's been doing like town halls and stuff constantly, like on a very regular basis. But he canceled all of them, like all until further notice, because of what just came out. There, another one of his ex girlfriends came out and made some claims that he sexually assaulted her, and with the story was pretty graphic and pretty terrible. And this one is unlike the last one, which the last one was like a far right Republican who was already like in some groups that are kind of known to lie about shit and to make shit up. Very pro, uh, very a not very trustworthy person. The last one was. This one, on the other hand, is uh, I don't have any conclusive evidence for this, but I've heard that they're like a DSA member and that they are like very far left wing. Um,
I mean, is it
but
possible they might be attacking him because he's not far left enough? I mean, he does have the whole
like,
like Totenkopf tattoo, so
well, it's
maybe.
more likely that they're attacking him because he's too far left. Because that's been a thing recently,
Yeah, but that's
where
the
the
DSA, dude.
Democrats,
That's his son's party. That's literally like
yes,
that's the
no,
like
I
we
agree.
hate America, we fucking
No,
we
it's
love
not we
Islam
hate
and
America.
terrorism party.
They don't hate America.
Bro, it's Hassan's party. It's
Yeah,
basically
Hassan
like
doesn't hate
all of the
America either.
people who hate America join the DSA.
No, 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 no. No, it's just a different idea of what America needs to do in the future. Um, I mean, none of them hate America. If they hated America, they wouldn't be uh, trying to get people elected.
That is not even remotely true. I mean, you could easily hate a country and still seek to subvert it and reshape it in an image that you would like.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that's the whole point of American politics is to pass legislation that you like and to not pass legislation you don't like, right?
Oh, I'm agreeing with you there. What I'm saying, though, is a lot of the DSA members, when you're looking at the left wing, when you're comparing, say, the DSA to, say, the ACP, the American Communist Party, uh, like the American Communist Party has more of an element which is more American, even though it is a distinctly globalist party as a whole, even though the ACP is openly allied with, say, like this, I don't want to say allied, but openly supportive of groups like the CCP and the Russian government, which I don't understand why, admittedly. It's not as though Russia is currently communist. Um, Russia
No,
seems to really
this
embody a lot of the things of the right, if we're going
and
to be
and
completely honest. But
I've said many times that I don't even believe the USSR was communist. I believe they were state capitalist,
to be
very
fair,
similar to the CCP.
you can kind of say that about like anything. I mean, like I mean, they would agree with you that they were not truly communists. They would say, "Oh, we're socialist. We're in the process of becoming communist." That's what
Yeah,
socialism means. Cubans
but
would say the same thing. I mean, that's
they
kind of
weren't
just a party
socialist
line.
even. They weren't even socialist because their priorities were still within capital. You know, like the idea would be to completely remove the ideas of capital, but they didn't. Like there was still like business. There was still business and money and like property ownership, but it was all state ran. You know, and that's antithetical to socialism.
Well, that's more
State
the
ran
modern
capitalism.
conception. That's more the modern conception of socialism. Like, if you were to look at, say, the
Yeah,
history of socialism, right? Like, you have to acknowledge how it was actually reformed by, of all people, Otto von Bismarck. Now, you wouldn't actually think the German conservative politician would be known as the redefiner of what it means to be a socialist. But as it turns out, whenever he created like the welfare programs within Germany, he changed the foundation of how people thought of socialism from being a more libertarian, like sort of like anarcho-commune form of socialism or distributive form, uh, in a sense, I should say, to being state run. State socialism was actually the term, and I think that to this day is the most common conception of socialism. To the
anything
point where,
that's state run or government run is completely antithetical to what I think of whenever I think of socialism. Because when I think of socialism, I'm thinking of like things that are more based in like expanding democracy into our economy, making our economy democratically run by the working class rather than it being ran by people at the top, because it is that concentration of power that all socialists that I've ever met and all socialists that I've ever heard of agree with is the problem. Like the entire idea is that the people at the very top, the people who are rich, the people who have been bathed in power their entire lives, they do not have the ability to comprehend and to understand the issues of what the average person is dealing with without spending an unimaginable amount of time down in the trenches with those people. So they are then, if they do that, they are not able to make the changes that they would need to make. So it's easier if we just have the people who are there, who are the working class people, who are the people who the government is meant to work for, if they are the ones that are making the choices, and we have a system in place for those people's voices to be heard a lot easier. And that's the entire idea.
so right off the bat, sort of going off what you said, whenever you're looking at the current entrenched elites, we'll both be in agreement that those are bourgeois elites. They are the
Yes,
bourgeoisie. I'm not
100%.
sure how that's pronounced, actually. To be completely
Yeah, it's
honest, I've heard it
bourgeois,
both.
and then yeah, bourgeoisie is bourgeois and bourgeoisie are both uh, two independent words,
Okay,
but
well,
they're yeah.
I'll we'll
It's
clarify that
just
one
like
later. That's a
bourgeois
little
is a person, and bourgeoisie is the group as a whole.
okay. So it is the bourgeoisie that are
Yep.
running the state. And if you're looking historically, though, well, first off, I mean, they obviously have a class interest not to understand the interests of working people. I mean, that's indisputable. Someone like Elon Musk does have, in many ways, an interest that is antithetical to my own. Now, that's not to say
Yeah.
that on some issues we're aligned, or on some things he will have a moral stance which happens to align with me, such as on immigration, because of his cultural beliefs and a cultural connection to the U.S. and to Western civilization. But if you look at, say, historically, democracy is a bourgeoisie concept. It was a bourgeois revolution. It was a revolution of the middle class and a revolution of capital. If you actually look historically, one of the greatest ways in which the merchant class, the bourgeois, was actually kept in line, it was actually through the monarchy of old. It was actually because, contrary to, say, a elected representative, a monarch has to think in a long-term capacity. They're concerned not only about what's happening in the next 4 years, but what's happening in the next 4 generations. What about their grandchildren? How are they going to inherit the kingdom in which they own? I think in a lot of ways, viewing the state as being a public entity has actually weakened workers' rights and led to a detriment of workers.
Well, I would argue that it has nothing to do with that, and it's actually the power that has been given to corporations with things like Citizens United. That is what has weakened workers' rights mostly. It's the power that is being given to anybody who has money. It's making money political power, and honestly, I think that we could simply solve a lot of problems really quickly with just a little bit of legislation that would overturn Citizens United and then make it where there is a separation between our public economy and our politicians. So, they can't take public donations and they can't do any type of like stock trading or have any type of outside businesses or anything like that. Just fund their campaigns through government money.
I think you're going to end up in sort of a circular problem in which the rich control the power, so they're not going to let people get in the way because they control the power, so they're not going to give up power because they have power, because the rich have power, and it just sort of repeats ad infinitum.
We already see it. Yeah, well, we're already in this fight. Like, I mean, that's why there's so much money being spent on all kinds of people. Like, I mean, there's I had it up earlier. I was going to bring it up here, but one of the Democratic candidates that's running against a DSA member, a DSA candidate, she recently received $6 million this week from corporate interests. She's still losing. She has received $16 million so far. 6 million of it was in the last week. She's losing terribly. Like we if you actually look at a lot of this, especially on the left, you're not seeing this as much on the right. It doesn't seem to be as the right doesn't seem to be as entrenched in this because there seems to be a lot of issues that the right is seeing between the right and the left. While the left, we have a big divide within our own party.
One
here.
second. You're saying it was $6 million? Personally, I think at most it was $271,000.
Is that a reference to something that I'm not aware of?
I I will not elaborate.
So, see if I can actually just see it here real quick.
Okay, but anyhow, back on track.
Yeah, right here,
with
right here.
Graham Platner. What? So you're saying that he is currently being accused of sexual assault, and you're saying they are actually credible. Now,
Um,
what? I mean, to be
it's
honest,
not
let's be real here.
completely verified, but he has said that he's had issues with violence in the past. He has said that he has had issues with his ex-girlfriends in the past, and he made this video here that I'd actually like to play.
All right, I will check that out. But before I do, I want to just say one thing. Looking objectively, I'm not making any moral statements. I'm just saying this objectively. And I'm looking at the facts and of presidential candidates, and I'm looking at previous political candidates. Is sexual assault truly disqualifying from higher office? And I just have to ask, I'm just going to point that out. A lot of people will instantly say yes. But at the same time, I think he could probably deny it and just get off scot-free. It might hurt him a little bit, but if he just denies it vehemently enough, then he probably could have gotten out of this.
I don't think it is. I think that it's terrible and it's a bad thing, just in general.
Oh, obviously. I'm not saying it's a good. I'm not hoisting my flag on the hill of rape is good.
Yeah.
I'm not being I really support this. I'm just being objective here. Like, I'm wondering why he doesn't just stand out and deny it, but maybe it'll be addressed in this video. Maybe he'll admit it, or maybe he'll do what I said.
Yeah. I think that it's one of those things where you need to. It's kind of like when there's an artist that ends up having some type of like thing that happens with them. You got to separate the art from the artist. Sometimes, sometimes it's hard to do that. Like with somebody like a Bill Cosby or something, where it's like he fucking serial raped people during his entire career, and his career was kind of built off of him like just seeking new fucking victims. Like that's kind of hard to get past. But when it's somebody with a singular allegation, it's not. It seems credible, but there is no conclusive evidence or conclusive proof about it. So it's kind of just ambiguous on if it happened at all. I think you got to kind of just be like, well, what are they doing now? Like, is what they're doing or what they're making now worth just kind of ignoring this? I think for somebody like Graham Platner, whenever his opponent is fucking Susan Collins, I would still rather have Graham Platner than Susan Collins.
Okay, so I know nothing about Susan Collins. What state is this even in? Is this Maryland, Massachusetts? Maine. I knew it started with an M.
Yep. Susan Collins is an old woman. I think she might even be older than Trump. She has
two of my least favorite things in a politician: old and a woman. That's terrible. Terrible combination.
She has some type of neurological disorder or something that makes it where she has a hard time talking and shit. And she refuses to like do any type of like speeches or do any type of like community engagement at all. She just kind of collects a check and votes for whatever the party leader wants.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that does describe most people in Congress. Most people are not actually even the least bit coherent.
Yep.
This is mostly just... Let's be honest, Congress is mostly a retirement home for people who are not attractive enough to be actors and have just kind of overstayed their welcome. I'm wondering if they actually have someone who's hired to change the diaper of senators. I wonder how often they have to change the diaper of Mitch McConnell before he was brain dead, at any rate. When he was still like half brain dead, but not fully brain dead.
Before he was dead or after?
I hated Mitch McConnell. I fucking hate that guy. Fucking evil little turtle.
that the reason why they haven't like actually released the news that he's dead is because they're trying to avoid a special election, which would allow Thomas Massey to run for
It
Mitch
would
McConnell's
be
seat.
truly hilarious if Thomas Massey became senator. Just
Yeah,
waste more of Miriam Adelson's money.
yeah, I would love it, honestly. But let's get to this video.
All right.
You able to hear it?
Let me see. I wasn't hearing it there. Do I say something?
Testing.
Huh. Did I not have an app? Man. Say something again?
Testing.
Oh, yep. Okay, I can hear you now. And I may have. Man, I'm gonna get these streams working one of these days. Maybe tomorrow will be the first true episode of this show, and I'll just hide this episode.
This is episode 0.
Yeah. But anyhow, press play on that. Let me see if it will. No, it does not seem to want to actually play with sound. That's fucking weird. Alright, well I have it pulled up on my screen here. I'm going to play it independently. I'll just let's see. Let me bring up the Google.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false. Over the last 10 months, I have been deeply humbled by the faith Mainers have put in me. You have welcomed me into... I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false. Over the last 10 months, I have been deeply humbled by the faith Mainers have put in me. You have welcomed me into your homes, into your places of work, into your restaurants, into your houses of worship. You have shown that a different kind of politics, one that puts the interests of people over corporations, is not just possible, but is inevitable. This movement we have built, the largest volunteer base in the history of Maine politics, the hundreds of thousands of grassroots donors, and the supporters across the ideological spectrum, we were united in a love of Maine, a belief that our politics must change, and a focus on defeating Susan Collins. So, regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful of the political reality it will inflict, we are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward for the state that I love, the people that I love, the movement I belong to, and the goal of defeating Susan Collins. Those were the goals when we launched this campaign, and they remain my goals today. On June 9th, 154,058 Mainers, the most in primary history, voted to
Alright, I'm gonna be honest, the way he's talking, I already feel he's guilty.
reject a broken politics beholden to Washington and the donor class. They voted for hope,
Yeah.
for change, to take
He's
back
denying
our
it, though.
economy, to take back our power, and to take back our Senate seat. Throughout it all, you never turned your back on me, and I will not turn my back on you now. Every one of you deserves to see that vision come to fruition and see Susan Collins defeated.
So, this whole thing, so far, what it's basically telling me is that he's saying that he's not going to he's saying that he's not going to drop out, but this is the type of speech you would normally give about 2 or 3 days after dropping out. Or before dropping out.
Yeah. It seems like he might, but he also might not. So it looks like, according to Ryan Grimm, who who is a he works he's a co-host at Breaking Points, and I believe he's a Drop Site News author. He writes for Drop Site News, but he is saying that Troy Jackson and I think that's Shelley Pingree are both potential replace are being considered to be potential replacements. Um, so this is a rough position for them to be in, because they now need to figure out, like, is Graham Platner going to try and move forward on this and try and work past this, or are you going to try and replace him?
So, Brian in the chat pointed out that this feels a lot like a YouTube apology video, and he's waiting for him to just bust out the ukulele, and honestly, I can't fucking help but see that. Like, and the thing is, it's kinda, like, fucking weird. Like, how often is it at this point? It's starting to seem pretty common where people are just dropping out in the middle of the race and then just having a successor just kind of appointed out of the blue, which, to be honest, I think is a bad fucking precedent.
I think it hasn't worked out once.
No, it is not.
No, not at all. That's why I think that his best chances are to just stick it through. You know, um, he is at least very lucky that the person that he's up against is Susan Collins, which people of Maine really fucking hate her. She has really done a terrible job in her position.
What
So,
exactly bad things has she done? Just, I know absolutely nothing. I don't especially care about.
she is still pro Iraq war to this
Holy
day.
shit.
She thinks it was a good idea that we sent people to Iraq. She's pro Iran war. She's pro to this day. She's one of the people who is like super pro Iran war. She's a very pro Israel person.
Okay, I
You know,
was about to be like, hey Drat, can you pull up her ethnicity? Early life section on Wikipedia. What do we find?
yeah.
But yeah, so basically you have just the most generic pro-Israel candidate that we could possibly have versus the guy with the fucking Totenkopf tattoo, which I love bringing up because it's the only factor I like about him.
He doesn't have the tattoo anymore.
Oh, then in that case, he should drop out immediately, no questions asked.
He got it covered up.
He should drop out. I think he did it. I think he assaulted that woman, and it was shameful what he did. And I think, Suzanne Collins. I mean, that's such a nice lady, such a sweet old lady. I mean, she can't even talk. She's too old, doesn't know where she is, but she's such a sweet old lady. How can this young thug be running against her? He probably wants to assault Suzanne Collins too. Oh shit! I have to grab another beer. One sec.
You can hear what the fuck she sounds like. don't even know when this was. I'm gonna end the video stream here so that I can take a look, because it looks like we might be having some issues with our stream here. Okay, what's going on with it?
Alrighty. I am back. Got 2 beers. Had to be prepared. Anyhow, before we get back into it, I am going to be checking out the chat. And right off the bat, you know, it's funny that she'd be on the first one to say that she's you know, it's funny that she'd be the first one to say she's anti-Iran/Iraq war if she'd been placed on the front lines. I personally feel all politicians should serve at least 4 years of military service before they can hold office, says Brian. And to be honest, I do, in a sense, agree with you, and I wouldn't actually... So I'm not the biggest fan of democracy, to be completely honest with you. Have you ever read Starship Troopers? Like, the actual book. The movie was great, but the movie didn't actually explore any of the actual substance of the book, despite it being a really cool fucking movie and the humans indisputably being the good guys. I don't care what anyone says. Death to the buds. But I actually feel like that system actually did make sense, because there's a line in there where it's not just solely about military service, and bear in mind, I've never served my country. I am not fit for that. I spent my entire youth drinking excessively, which is what I continue to this very day. But they ended up having a line similar to the point, or basically along the point that it was more about being willing to sacrifice something so that you would value what you're actually voting for and what it means to be a voter and citizen. If, for instance, that you were deaf, blind, dumb, and, I said deaf, but if you were just all around crippled and fucked, they would just put you in a room and you'd just count quills on a porcupine for 4 years straight, if that's all they could find for you to do. But at the same time, it showed a degree of dedication that made people value their vote, which, to be honest, I actually think is a pretty solid idea. And after that, Net Chatter said they should also not be foreign, which I agree with. And in fact, Boro, can I say this on YouTube? It's an ethnicity that starts with a J. He wants to, I'll say Brazilians. He wants to, in fact, bar all Brazilians from holding office in the USA. And yeah, Brian agrees the movie did lose a lot of the nuance. And yeah, not just the Brazilians, but anyone paid for by the Brazilians to push their agenda. Let me see how often I can say Brazilian without getting banned. I truly have a great chat. See, Jesus, do you have any chat to read out? Anyone ranting about the Brazilians in your chat?
I am currently at 0 concurrent viewers, so no.
All right, fair enough.
Right now. I've been slacking on my channel for a little bit. The last upload I made was like 2 weeks ago, so I need to get back to it.
Okay, sorry, one sec. Alright, so anyhow, Sorry about that. Got a important text. Actually, not that important. It was my landscaper. I owed him money, and I left that outside for him. So I'm going to be minimizing you for a moment while I pull up the Google and go on to our next topic, which...
You want to share your screen, or what, or at least tell me which topic we're going to?
Yes. One sec. Okay, why is it doing some nonsense here on Discord? Keeps asking me if I want to reorder my channels. Why the fuck does it think I want to reorder my channels? Okay, there we go. Nope, now it's asking me about reordering my fucking channels again. Holy fucking shit, man. Episode 0, let me fucking tell you. Alright, you know what? We're gonna go back onto one of your topics. Once again, Pennsylvania Senate Republicans block minimum wage hike, keeping state minimum at $7.25 per hour. And I'm just going to read some of the initial comments here. Nobody is happier than some poor hillbilly living in some shitty trailer home. And Dr. Julie Gerner says, for them, well, they're cool paying minimum wage at $7.25 per hour. PA state senators and House members get cost of living adjustments to their own salaries every year. They had sessions only 54 days last year and made about $113K. That is actually completely true. I know in 2024, at any rate, when I had been running for state representative, the current going rate for a state representative was actually $106,000 a year. Now, bear in mind that that is over twice the amount of not the minimum wage, but the average PA salary. The average salary in Pennsylvania is $50,000. I now beat that pretty handedly without being in office, but they're making double that. Not to mention all the added benefits that come from insider trading, which is, of course, the typical hobby of every politician.
They also receive a per diem that is about $200 a day.
It is honestly, genuinely insane, because it's not as though that paying them an excessive amount actually manages to avoid corruption or have any tangible benefits whatsoever beyond enriching them. And we actually have one of the largest state houses and senates in the entire country. Where did my phone go? Because that is a relevant thing to have. Anyhow, oh shit, not the beer over.
It wasn't that long ago where, like, it was literally only the left that was saying our minimum wage is way too low and we really need to raise it. And people on the right were saying shit like, if we raise the minimum wage, it's just going to make all the like local and small businesses collapse, and minimum wage isn't meant for the average person, it's meant for children. But now it's become a thing where like a majority of people bipartisanly are for raising the minimum wage because of just how low it is compared to like the cost of living these days.
Oh. One sec. Not answering that call, but that ended up being very timely, very useful. Anyhow, basically, to be fair, all the small businesses are closed anyhow, so it's not as though that's an actually important factor. They all went out during COVID.
That's true.
There's not a single fucking small
Very
business
true.
anywhere. It's all just a single fucking Walmart parking lot. And right next to that Walmart is a Target. And right next to that Target, if you're lucky, is a Jersey Mike's and a McDonald's.
Yep. Yeah. And down the street's another McDonald's.
Oh yeah, there has to be a McDonald's, like every square mile.
Yep. And a Dollar General.
That's true, but the Dollar General has to be slightly distant from the Walmart. The Dollar General is where we keep the poor people, the super poor people, so they don't go into the Walmart, and the Walmart is where we keep the regular poor people, so they don't go in the Target.
Where we live, there's a Dollar General in the parking lot of the Walmart.
That's a depressing fact. Yeah. We live in a very poor community.
Yeah. When you exit on the grocery side, you can see the Dollar General. It's just right there.
Truly heart-wrenching. One of the most depressing facts I have ever heard.
That's why I go to Aldi's. It's not near the Dollar General.
So, I go to Fresh in Time, but I'm not sure. And also a lot of the butcher shops up in the Strip District. Try to go there on Sundays, on the ones that are open at least.
There's if you go up to 68, there's a farmer's market there, and they got a bunch of Amish shit in there. So like Amish butter and a bunch of just they got a butcher shop in there, so a bunch of fresh meat and stuff. They're not bad.
Give me 1 sec, gotta change my vape batteries. I'm having to go off screen a lot. I really should have prepared better. Alrighty, I am back. Anyhow, back to the important topic, which is not going to be what grocery stores we happen to go to, and meat and stuff like that.
Meat. Meat.
But back on the topic of minimum wage. I mean, did you really think they were going to change the minimum wage?
Absolutely not.
And someone's fucking posting fucking Mises there, fucking... Where is Rothbard? Maybe that is separate from Mises. Either way, fucking idiot. I think libertarian economics... Even when I was a libertarian, I had to say that I fucking despise libertarian economics. None of it made sense. Even George H.W. Bush used to actually refer to it as voodoo economics, because none of it made any fucking sense whatsoever. And before we get, as in a quick aside from politics, I wanted to actually talk about this. Larry Coroya, who I have never heard of a single fucking time in my entire goddamn fucking life, decided to speak on George R.R. Martin's legacy. His legacy is such an epic bum-ass bum that he crippled an entire genre, ruined consumer sentiment, and killed off an entire generation of epic fantasy authors. Romantasy and lit RPG grew as a direct result of filling the smoking crater George left in the industry. And Fandom Pulse does insist the market data backs him up. Romantasy generated $610 million in 2024, up 34% year over year. 5 of the top 10 best-selling novels were written by Sarah J. Maas or Rebecca Veros. Book talk-driven fantasy romance is the dominant force in fantasy publishing. It is not epic fantasy, the tradition that produced Tolkien, Jordan, and Martin himself. At his best, has been replaced by sprayed-edge collector editions with enemies to lovers art designed for tit-tot clips. And Are we just going to acknowledge that these are not the same audiences whatsoever? Like, I'm going to be honest, like, no one's going from Game of Thrones to Minotaur Milking Farm. This guy is a fucking moron.
Yeah.
There is not a big
That's-
crossover between the two. I am a Game
I'm
of
sure
Thrones
there is
fan.
a little bit. You know, I mean, I'm sure there is a little bit, but like most people, there's like almost no crossover.
Alright, Game of Thrones, like the books, probably had, a 20% female audience, and I'm willing to bet half of that female audience was there for the incest. So that 50% of that 20%, so 10% of the audience were women who were there in Game of Thrones for the incest. 10%, like that 10%, was interested in Minotaur milking farm. But as a whole, this is clearly completely different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And Kuroya apparently dedicated his final saga of the Forgotten Warrior book to Martin. See, it's not that hard. And, well, to be fair, I will say, I have a challenge for Kuroya, which is write a book that I have fucking heard about.
Yeah, that's a good challenge. Write a book that's good.
Yeah,
yeah, and
because trust me,
that becomes an HBO show and then has a spin-off show as well that are equally as popular.
Okay, those spin-off shows are not equally as popular. Not even close. Not even fucking close. There is not even... Man, no one gives a shit about House of the Dragon, and the only thing I have seen...
He needs to make a show... He needs to make shows that are equally as popular as those shows.
Alright.
I don't mean that the shows are equally as popular.
Okay, that makes sense. And you know what? I can't even shit on House of the Dragon, because simply by comparison, like, it's one of the greatest fantasy shows of all time still. Like, it is nothing compared to Game of Thrones, but, like, what do you have to compare it to? Like, fucking The Witcher? Rings of Power? What?
Honestly, like,
Wheel of fucking Time. My roommate pointed out Wheel of Time, and that show was so bad I blotted it out of my memory. And now the moment he brought it up, I am ready to end my own life. Holy shit, was that show fucking dog shit. I couldn't even get through 2 fucking episodes. The Witcher, I could at least try to humor. I could be like, oh, wow, I'm sure it'll get better. I can overlook the scrotum armor that the Nilfgaardians wear. Henry Cavill is in this movie, or in this show. It's bound to get good eventually, and it never does. And I don't quite care for Indian Yennefer either. She was not very hot, which is a main requirement for being Yennefer.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, just like TV shows in general just have taken kind of just like a downhill turn recently in the last like probably like at this point 10 to 15 years. Honestly, I can't even think of anything that is like good, that is like new, it's recent. Honestly, the most recent thing I can think of that's good is probably Invincible. I really like Invincible.
Invincible was actually a good show. I will give it that. I haven't finished it. I think I only watched
There's one more
two
season left.
seasons. I'm probably going to wait until it's finally completed, and then I'm going to catch up on it all at once.
Yeah, at this point, you probably should. It's going to be, like... I remember hearing that it was going to be a little bit quicker this time for the next season. So it's also, like next year or the year after.
Like Damien, I have to say that I am constantly searching on Audible for good fantasy novels. Specifically fantasy novels and history books. It's the only things I actually enjoy reading. And as it turns out, not a whole lot of good ones actually come out, or at least not a whole lot that actually scratch the same itch that, say, like Game of Thrones does. There's a reason that most of the literature I end up fucking reading that isn't old ends up just being defaulting to fucking Warhammer 40k books simply because it's the least trash option.
Did you read the Dragon Age stuff?
Yes, I actually did enjoy that. I read
Yeah.
it when it was coming out. The Awakening, the one about Duncan. I really quite
Yep.
liked that one. It was written by David Geider, and I think David Geider was
Yeah.
actually the one who made Dragon Age good. Even though he did tell me to fuck off on Twitter because I asked him just like a normal question on whether whether there was a purposeful change in direction following Dragon Age Origins to make it less grimdark. So fuck him for that, but overall I like his work. He's just very sensitive about Inquisition sucking a lot of cock.
Yeah, I got all of them right here. I haven't finished them, but I did start them at the very least. I should get back to these. They are really, from what I've read, it's pretty good.
And Damien, I think the reason that people who older writers tended to be good is because, and this is going to be true of in most media as well, is I think a lot of older writers had experience beyond themselves and they didn't, how would I put this? They weren't pampered, annoying, insufferable people. Like a lot of people who write movies right now, you can tell that they're generally very insufferable people that you would not actually want to have a conversation with, which is why a lot of characters they will defend to the death because those characters are actually their self-inserts. They think they are cool because that character is basically them.
If there, I think that it's you are right. That is most of it, but I think that there's also just like a bunch of other stuff just with just time in general, where there's a lot more distractions now, and like there's a lot more just like celebrity that comes with a lot of this. Social media, all of this. There's a lot more of an ability for them to like connect with other people and become influenced and stuff. And um, yeah, there's a lot more eyes on an individual author at this point. Where like somebody like Tolkien, most of the people who read his books while he was alive, he never heard from.
I mean, Tolkien was answering letters non-fucking stop. Literally, like,
Yeah.
at least a third of the lore we know is literally just because he just would not shut up whenever someone sent him a letter. He would just, like, respond with, like, a 10-page essay explaining his ideas. On the topic of Tolkien, though, I've actually been rereading or re-listening to The Lord of the Rings because they came out with an edition on Audible that was actually narrated by, I forget the actor's name, but he was the one who plays Smeagol, Gollum. And he is a great voice actor, or at least highly proficient narrator, I should say.
Yeah.
So it actually makes it a lot more enjoyable even during the slower parts. Now, I still do not enjoy the songs, especially on Audible, where he can definitely not carry a tune in a bucket. And to be fair, I don't think any narrator is necessarily trying to be a singer. And I'm not... I think Tolkien just liked songs over much, but one of the things I found really interesting was not actually in the novels themselves, but in the introduction where Tolkien was refuting the idea of an allegory, being an allegory for World War II, and he said that if it were an allegory, that the hobbits would have been caught in the middle, they probably would have died. Aragorn would have used the One Ring against Sauron and won, and then Saruman would have forged his own One Ring. And then there would have basically been a Cold War between the two. And to be honest, I think that actually sounds like a really cool fucking book. Like, that is a type of book I would genuinely want to read.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, like, Tolkien was just saying that dismissively, and it's like, why has no one written this? Like, genuinely, like, why is no one just taking the thing that Tolkien thought was too stupid to write and just fucking writing it? It would be good.
Yeah,
Like,
especially with like how much influence he had on fantasy to the point where like most fantasy is based off of like Tolkien shit, which is based off of like Norse mythology. So like everything fantasy is dwarves, elves, and fucking orcs, and that's like all of fantasy at this point.
Well, to be fair, I think you have to give it up for Wizards of the Coast for finally separating from that tradition and having all of the terms but nothing even vaguely reminiscent of Tolkien. Instead of orcs, we now have Mexicans, but they're green.
At the very least, I like I'm gonna go back to Dragon Age a little bit. Just at the very least, some of these stories could at least have some interesting changes on this stuff, like what Dragon Age does, where there's additional races and stuff, and like the races have like significant differences between them as well.
I would have to agree. I feel like whenever you reduce them all basically to human cultures, you're really reducing what actually makes them interesting. If they're all human cultures, then why not just all happen to be human? Why do you have to make the distinction then between these humans are short and called dwarves and these humans are slightly lankier, tall, and have fancy ears and they're called elves? And speaking of Dragon Age, Brian actually does comment saying Dragon Age is awesome. Honestly, Dragon Age 2 was my intro into the franchise, so I have a soft spot for it, and Dragon Age Origins is goated. Inquisition is okay, but I didn't even touch Veilguard because it was shit. I'm with you on that. I did not touch Veilguard. I watched some streams of it. I was actually unironically hyped for it because I didn't read or listen to anything up until it was like, a week beforehand, and I was like, hey man, I told Alex actually, hey man, I'm fucking buying the new Dragon Age. I'm fucking hyped for this. And he's like, what the fuck? Why are you... Wait, no, it actually wasn't you. It was my D&D group. And they were like, what the fuck? Why would you buy that? And I'm like, it's a Dragon Age game. And they're like, did you look anything about this? I'm like, no. And
I was excited for it when it was Dreadwolf.
Yeah.
When I heard, oh, they're making a new one and it's going to be we're going back to being what are they called? Grey Knights. That's what they're called, right?
Grey Wardens. Grey Knights who
Grey Wardens. Yeah. We're going back to the whole Grey Warden thing, and your character's going to be a Grey Warden again. I was like, oh, that's fucking thick. I'd love to go back to that. Back to basics. That's awesome. And then they changed literally everything about the game, turned it into a what was supposed to be an MMO, and then last minute decided, we're going back to single player.
Well,
and so now you just have like a super just fucking empty ass game that has nothing in it except a bunch of cringe ass lines and shit.
The MMO gameplay was actually as far back as Inquisition, believe it or not, because if you actually looked at a lot of the structure of Inquisition quest lines, they were very much similar to World of Warcraft Classic. Not even modern retail World of Warcraft. Literal Classic. It would be like, go to this area, kill 10 boars until you get 15 boar hides. And you would just have to do that on loop multiple times in order to build your camp, even though you were supposedly the leader of the Inquisition, and you should be able to fucking delegate this to someone who doesn't matter.
and the worst part is that they had a fucking like the table thing where they had that kind of shit in there, but you had to send like high up fucking people in your camp. There wasn't like an option to just be like, oh, let's send some fucking knights or whatever, or some regular fucking low level people to go and fucking gather these types of just basic materials and shit.
Speaking of which, that was also a mechanic in World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. Go figure. Very original. Very original. I have to agree with Brian as far as Dragon Age 2 goes. I actually preferred it over Inquisition because it had a lot of the aspects that I wanted in a Dragon Age game, which was predominantly narrative. I'm willing to ignore some of the lackluster gameplay and some of the repetition that came from like the visuals and stuff like that, how they would reuse a bunch of assets. Okay, that kind of sucked, but oh well. Because the narrative was fundamentally still very engaging in a way that Inquisition's wasn't, and where the Veiled Lords definitely fucking wasn't. Holy fucking shit, I could probably go on a rant about that. Literally nothing about the Veiled Guard from what I saw seemed appealing, although I could see how it could potentially be used to explore a different narrative. Because I'm not even going to necessarily say that I would, on principle, hate a well-written version of Tosh. If Tosh was theoretically well written and it actually was done in a way that seemed integrated well into the lore, and they didn't end up using words like literally non-binary, and they ended up sort of exploring that concept and the restrictions that are imposed on them by the Coon and by culture as a whole, I would be willing to hear them out, and I'd be willing to see that story, assuming it was actually well written. But nothing about that was well written. This was something that you would expect from a literal teenager. This is something you would expect on fucking Storywrite or fucking... What are some of those other writing sites that people used as teenagers that were predominantly used for erotica and fanfiction erotica more specifically? I don't know. Yeah. I predominantly, as a teenager who wanted to write, I used Elfwood, which surprisingly contained less porn than other story-driven sites. Despite the literal name of Elfwood.
Yeah.
But it was focused specifically towards fantasy writing.
Yeah. And the thing with the newest Dragon Age game, which I keep forgetting the name of the actual title of it, the new title of it, but all of the like the non-binary shit and all of that, like even like left-wing people that I know, people that are on the same side as me, people who are further left than I am, thought that it was like really weird and like really forced, and it seemed to be kind of virtue signaling, and it made no sense in the context. And I have not heard a single person who actually liked that was in there. Like, I could understand if they were to at some point have some type of throwaway line that was like somewhat of a description of what that is, but like to like just straight out just say it for literally no reason like that's just weird. It just made no sense.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the word is so very obviously modern. Like, even if you were going to incorporate the concept, you could find out some way of wording it that made more sense. And I did see, it was a while up in the comments, someone had mentioned audio dramas, radio dramas should make a comeback, and honestly, I agree. The only time I've actually seen an audio drama anytime recently was actually through Warhammer Age of Sigmar of all things, and it was actually performed by Brian Blessed as one of the main actors, where he did Gotrit Gurnison, and holy fuck did he do a good job. And I'm really disappointed the rest of the novels weren't done in audio drama, because holy shit. I honestly feel like that should be something that should be done far more often. Because I'm sure you could find some decent writers who would be adept at making audio dramas, and it's definitely cheaper, especially in the fantasy genre, to make audio dramas rather than full-length films. And if people really wanted to, I mean, I suppose you could even use AI at this point to do the audio. I mean, I don't think it's quite at that point yet. I think it's very much up there for visuals, but the voices always sound fucked up. But it's not like there's not plenty of people who could probably be like college theater kids who would be better voice actors than the actual voice actors who do half the games and animes.
I mean, we got like D&D podcasts and shit, which some of them get kind of close to that kind of thing. But I'm honestly surprised that with the explosion of like D&D podcasts, that audio dramas specifically never made their way to the podcast form, because it seems perfectly suited for that.
I would have to agree 100%. Mouse fell. Holy shit. I need some more alcohol. Gotta remain coherent and on top of things. Okay. So, going on to our next topic. And let's see. You know what? Since we were already talking about stories and everything of the sort. Oh, wow. This had a bunch of tweets earlier today. Maybe if I click on latest. Nolan's Odyssey trailer faces massive online backlash over casting. I wanted to talk about this. Because I feel like this movie is going to be a disaster, because fundamentally it's not appealing to the main audience of people who want to see the Odyssey movie. The main people who want to see the Odyssey movie, let's be honest here, it's predominantly nerdy white guys. Do you really think that it is really going to expand in appeal beyond nerdy white guys?
I think that it's got, yes, because I think it also has an appeal towards anybody who is really into literature, anybody who's really into like theater stuff, because it is like a classical story. But I do think it's a huge mistake to be like, let's take these historic figures where like their race is known. We know who these people are, and let's just completely just disregard that and put somebody who doesn't fit in their place as that character.
Also,
in like a history adjacent story.
True. Like, I have one bar for Helen of Troy. She has to be hot enough for me to want to fuck. And she failed that. That actress is not hot enough for me to want to fuck. And I have one bar for Achilles. Achilles has to look like he could kill me. Ellen Page does not look like he can kill me. I look like I could win in a fight with Ellen Page. And I am fat and lazy. And a chain smoker. And drunk most of the time. I
have less of a problem with Ellen Page than I do with the person who's playing whatever her name is,
Helen of Troy.
Helen of Troy, because
100%.
like I've been seeing people saying that like, oh, she's so ugly. I'm like, nah, she just looks like a normal fucking black woman. The problem is
Exactly.
that
That's why she's ugly.
she's supposed to be like a Greek, like she's supposed to be Greek.
Well, actually, she was described as
can't-
fair-haired and fair-armed, which I did not actually read the Odyssey, but I've seen a lot of people
Like-
quoting it on Twitter, so...
Yeah, but she's supposed to be from Greece. She's supposed to be a Greek woman. So
Well-
you couldn't find a Greek woman and fucking give her blonde
Troy
hair?
was actually Anatolia, believe it or not.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
Well,
actually
either
Turkey.
way,
Interestingly enough, that was also the story of Troy was actually what the Romans believed they were descended from Troy. They actually believed they were the refugees of Troy, which happened to land on the Italian peninsula.
either way, she doesn't look like she's from Turkey either.
That is
You know
true.
what they should do? They should get Hassan Piker to play Helen of Troy. Just give him a
Yeah.
wig.
We do hear about how hot Hassan Piker is all the time. Hassan Piker in drag and Ellen Page in drag. You know what? I would watch that movie just because it would be funny at that point.
Yeah.
Fucking whatever rapper they got to play a bard is just rapping about Hassan's pussy. Fucking hell. That is one of the most cursed statements I've fucking said. Holy fucking shit. Once, my favorite adaptation of the Odyssey is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And Lock Damien says that casting choices are literally just so diversity group can use it as historical fact. And honestly, yeah. Dude, do you know how much wee-wuzzery we're going to get from this? This is going to be worse than Cleopatra. Although I do think that the next time we do a movie about Cleopatra, we should still make her black, but we should make her blacker. Like, she should seduce Mark Anthony by twerking. And going on to the next subject. Did you hear about Brian Johnson? The man who has been trying to live forever?
Yes, I know about Brian Johnson.
Yeah, did you hear the news?
I have not heard any news about him.
Well, as it turns out, he just had an autoimmune disease, and he's dying now.
That is incredible. I love this.
I am so happy,
Wait.
man. I am. Like,
Could you share
genuinely.
that link with me? Let me see this. Oh, yes, I found it.
Yeah, I posted it at the very top. That was one of the first things I saw I wanted to discuss. I have said from the very beginning that anyone who wants to live forever is the exact last person I want to see live forever. I would rather see your average homeless guy, homeless schizophrenic who is smoking crack under a bridge, live for 500 years than I'd rather see a guy who is so clearly sociopathic that he cannot so sociopathic and narcissistic that he cannot come to terms with the fact he is going to die. I don't want that guy living forever. I want that guy to be dead by 20.
So just absolutely insane that he was literally using his son as just a source for young blood
Yes.
to transfuse into his own veins. Like, that is just insane.
He apparently spends $2 million a year on trying to stay alive. He takes 100 pills a day. He has 30 doctors watching over him. He sleeps by 8:30 every night, stops eating by noon. Like you said, the whole plasma thing.
Yep.
fucking literally tracks his erections and his son's erections. He claims he has the body of an 18-year-old, and he catches a fucking autoimmune disease, which is basically his stomach eating itself.
That's crazier than the Speaker of the House. What's his name? Do you remember his name?
Mike Johnson?
Yeah. Mike Johnson. Do you know what he does with his son?
No.
They track each other's porn.
What?
Yeah. He said that he and his son have an app on their phones so that they could keep each other accountable for how much porn they watch and what porn they watch.
Son, I see you deviated from the big booty Latinas into pagan. What is wrong with you? Why was there a clown doll jerk-off instruction on your head's videos today?
I thought that was going to be like one of the most insane things I've heard a father-son doing ever. But Brian Johnson tracks his son's erections.
Dude, I couldn't even begin to imagine asking my dad what porn he watches. I made a joke to my dad about the type of porn I watch, and he gets uncomfortable. Because he was like, we were at like a campground or something, and there was a fucking thing to set up to play like a video from a phone, and he asked why I didn't just use my phone, and I was like, well, you see, Dad, if I opened up my the Google on my phone, you'd just find 50 tabs of big titty goth girls getting tied up. And he just looked at me and was just like shaking his head. And it's like, I think that's pretty normal. Maybe my dad was just ashamed I wasn't hardcore enough.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson, the Star Wars guy who did The Last Jedi. Wait. Oh, Brian Johnson. Apparently I mixed them up. They both fuck shit up, so I was like, well, basically the same guy. One guy's a terrible speaker, the other's a terrible director. Basically the same. Maybe they were both the same guy. Maybe he just changed his name after the Star Wars movie.
Wait.
And I agree Vanilla Ice should be the Bard. I think they should have gotten Vanilla Ice. They should have gotten Toby Turner, Marilyn Manson, the guy from the Beastie Boys, and the guy from Limp Bizkit. Those should have been the Bards. And whoever they replaced, the chick they replaced in Linkin Park with the dead guy. I forget the dead guy's name.
Too many people with the last name Johnson. All right, we need to fucking, that's it. We're no more Johnsons. From this point on, anybody whose last name is Johnson, they got to make something up. Just fucking
No
roll
more
some dice.
Johnsons. See Christ is becoming a eunuch. I'm just gonna let that hang there for a second. Like a Johnson. So, the next thing I wanted to discuss was these flock cameras. Now, have you seen anything about these?
Yes, I know a lot about these.
Okay, so I just found out about these relatively recently. I found out that people were also cutting them down, which is very based. I always support cutting down any form of mass surveillance because this is not the fucking United Kingdom, and I like to be able to get away with things. If I want to smoke crack in public, that's my business. That's not the business of the state.
I was talking about flock cameras over a year ago.
I had
when they were
actually
just
not.
like proposing them.
Yeah, I had basically tuned out from a lot of stuff last year. I was busy basically. What was I doing last year? Oh,
Oh,
cocaine. Cocaine and
yeah.
dating a neo Nazi. So, yeah, I didn't pay attention to politics at all last year. So, I'm just jumping on the bandwagon of being anti flock cameras now, except perhaps in Detroit and Chicago. We can put them in Detroit and Chicago, that's fine. Just like don't put them in any good state or any good city. Actually, you know what? I'm against them there too. Just put a wall around Detroit and Chicago, and Philadelphia. It'll solve most problems. I think the walls are better than the cameras. Walls will be cheaper, more efficient over time. You don't have to keep using electricity.
Well, I mean, these cameras are self-sustained with the solar panel.
Lock said Seacrest, tuning out. See Jesus, lock in. Lock in, see Jesus. Do not tune out.
You can't tell me who I'm allowed to be.
Oh, dear God. But so wait, they're self-sustaining.
Yeah, they got the solar panels and shit.
So what you're saying is if I steal enough of these cameras that I could just power my house?
Yeah. Well, you don't even have to take the camera. You just got to take the panel off the top.
I think that's rather appealing, I have to say. I think the government maybe should invest in these. I think it might be a worthwhile investment. I think it might be a good idea after all.
Well, I think
Just
they're a bad
they
idea
should be
because they-
sparsely placed. So no cameras covering the other camera. We can't have a camera cover what happens to the other cameras. That would just be absurd. That'd be overkill. As long as they're sparsely placed, I would support it. And I was reading a little bit about this recently. Apparently, they are also being placed not only in streets to cover speeding, but even in places like, national parks and normal parks as well, camping areas. So it seems very much so like they're not just being used for the quote-unquote intended purpose of just tracking down speeding, which, to be honest, I think speeding is a fundamental human right, and cops should mind their own business on that. The speed limits are far too low. We should be more like Germany. And the people who happened to crash, well, they were weak and they were not meant to keep living anyhow. But apparently people have been breaking these down. Which
I support breaking them.
100%.
They use taxpayer money to put this shit up, and it's fucking ridiculous.
So I'm pulling up this video now. It
Really
looks like
fucking
someone
waste.
just like cut one down. I'm not sure if they took like a saw to it, like whether that would take long, or if they just, because that looks like a pretty clean cut.
Yeah. It was like a battery powered jigsaw.
Okay, that made sense. You would have expected they would have expected for people to do this.
Yeah.
Because that would be like my first instinct, is just being like, oh, fuck this camera, or like,
It's honestly crazy that they didn't, like, these were obviously not tested for anything. Like, one of the first things that was like a big problem that a lot of people had was that they weren't crash tested, but they were put like almost on the road. Like they were like in between, in a lot of places they were being put in between the sidewalk and the road. but a car could literally like shear right through it.
Yeah, that honestly checks out. And also, apparently, now I don't know the truth of this. This is on Twitter. A 1000 nm wavelength green laser pointed at them will damage the sensor and render the cameras ineffective. Which, would also seem to be a thing that they would want to do, would be to try to make them laser proof so they're not easily destroyed by anyone who just does not like them.
That's not a super easy thing to do. I don't even know if that's completely possible.
Oh, it's not?
I don't know. I don't believe it is. It's like, if it is, it's probably extremely expensive.
And also, apparently, there's about a half ounce of easily recyclable silver, and that's about $35. Not factoring in, the camera, router, solar panel, and battery, which can fetch over $1,000 on the secondary market. I'm going to be honest, these things are more profitable than catalytic converters by a fucking mile. Yes. Holy shit.
We should be getting this information to meth heads. Letting them know, like, these things are really easy to take down. They have a lot of, like, rare minerals and metals in them. Like, take one of these pools and you just scrap it, and you'll get a shit ton of money.
That is absolutely true. In fact, I know a few meth heads I might actually call after this stream. And trust me, I know quite a few.
Yeah. These flock people, they failed to consider the meth heads.
They did, and I mean, this is Amerika. You have to factor in the meth heads into your plan.
Yes, you always need to factor in all of the different types of drug users whenever you're doing anything in Amerika.
Well, to be fair, you don't normally have to worry about the fentanyl users. They're normally just busy leaning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they'll just be kind of just like in the street somewhere, just leaning around.
Yeah. The PCP users are the main people you generally have to watch out for. PCP
Depending
users
on the type
up
of business
top,
you have.
And then you have to watch out for the meth heads, then the crack heads. Coke heads are normally busy. I mean, you do normally have to watch out for them, but they're normally busy fucking you over in subtle ways. They're normally busy fucking you over as a lawyer or as a doctor or potentially as a politician. If they're a high-tier coke head.
The coke heads are easy to deal with. You give them a pen and a piece of paper, they'll keep themselves busy for hours.
That is true. That is 100% true.
They'll come back to you with their manifesto.
100% true, let me tell you. That's one of the main times I like to write, if I'm going to be honest. I kind of think I'm out now, though. Damn shame. But Ozempic makes them not work, which is truly, like a Greek tragedy. That's my Greek tragedy. And Locke points out that Florida shouldn't have any within 3 months. And Brian points out they don't even need to be on drugs. It's just Florida, man. It's in the water. To be fair, I think there's enough drugs in the water that it is the drugs.
Yeah. Brian got it right. He just didn't know how right he got it. They don't need drugs because the drugs are in the water.
Yeah. To be fair, that is the main benefit of living in Florida. That's why all the retired people go there. The PCP in the water keeps them feeling reinvigorated and youthful.
Yeah. And because of how many drugs are in the water, it also ends up kind of just like in the air too, with the humidity.
Man, that is great. I mean, that's like true vaping. That is literal vapor. Get to vape your PCP. Now, there were a few other things I wanted to discuss. Now, I do think, though, that I wanted to actually move on to React content, which is... I wanted to hear your take on this. I am going to be sharing my screen here as well.
Go end mine so you can do yours.
So I wanted to discuss, this was a, can you see this?
Yes, the Momdani.
Yes, so I wanted to discuss, by Cash Jordan, Mom Donnie thought free groceries worked until 17 supermarkets went bankrupt. Now this has shown up repeatedly on my feed. That being said, I've not pre-watched this. I have not watched this at all. I know who this guy is. Asmongold reacts to him very regularly.
I do want to say something on the top real quick before we get into this.
Yes.
Free groceries, I've been hearing that a lot from right-wing people. That's very disingenuous. I think that at this point, anybody who is still claiming free groceries either is completely ignorant of what's going on and like what the plan is, or they are purposely disingenuous, because it's become really really well stated that it is not free groceries. It is just a government-sponsored supermarket. You still have to pay for the groceries. You still pay for the food. It's just that they are putting a government-sponsored grocery store in places where other supermarkets have not put a grocery store. So these areas, they do not have any place to get food other than like gas stations and bodegas, which are going to be extremely expensive.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is that these are basically a state-run store that's designed to fix food deserts.
Yes, 100%. That's all this is.
Okay, so
it's also not even a new idea. It's just new to New York.
Where else has it been implemented by chance?
I can't remember the exact places. Let me look it up. Looks like it was done in Florida and Kansas.
So Florida and Kansas have already done it, and now, to be fair, doesn't New York already decide not to prosecute someone unless they steal, I think it was $900 or more at a single time?
Yeah, I think so.
To be fair, then, literally everywhere is a free grocery store.
Yeah, but the big issue, more than anything, was the food desert issue.
Which I do think that not prosecuting people for stealing less than $900 definitely does contribute to the food desert. Because I can only speak for myself here, but if I knew, without a doubt, that I would not be prosecuted if I stole less than $900, I would steal exactly $899 worth of groceries every week. I'm just going to be honest. You give me a stupid system, I will exploit it. And I don't even hate the people who exploit the system. I hate the system. The system is stupid. The people who are just going to realize, okay, well, I will say I'd probably steal like $700 because I would want to make sure I'm not close to that 900, so I'm in a safe spot. I'd be coming in with a calculator. I'd be adding up all my food, and I'd be like, okay, I'm at $700, $703 and 82 cents. Time to leave. Walk out. Go home. Walk out. Get in my car. Drive home. See you next week, Tom.
It looks like that is a misinterpretation of the law based on the idea that property theft is $1,000 plus, but petty larceny is between $20 to $1,000.
What is petty larceny?
It's a misdemeanor. It is just the misdemeanor of the property theft. Property theft is a felony.
But is it prosecuted?
Yes.
How often? Because there's still that gamble. Because a law is only as strong as its enforcement mechanism. Like, it is on the books, for instance, that, like, you cannot fire off a cannon at a wedding in Pennsylvania. But how often, even if you were to fire off a cannon at a wedding in Pennsylvania, would you be prosecuted for it? If you recorded yourself doing it, and there's next to no chance you would be prosecuted, well, then the law doesn't truly exist. And there were, frankly, quite a lot of laws like that. I mean, most laws around marijuana, for instance, are one. The only time you're going to get arrested for marijuana is if you really piss off the police officer, if he's looking for a reason to arrest someone, or he needs to hit a quota. But otherwise, you can walk around smoking a joint. You could probably smoke it right in front of a cop. You could probably ask him if he wants a hit, and you'll be fine.
All right, so it says that there is 109,000 cases citywide annually.
How many of those result in convictions?
It says that 40% of them are dismissed. So 60%.
Okay, so that isn't nearly as bad as I was expecting. Now, I'm wondering how many instances there are that are not even seen as being worth charging and stuff like that. But I will admit I was expecting it to be significantly worse. Is it even possible to steal $500 from a Dollar General? I mean, at this point, I feel like it wouldn't necessarily be that difficult. I mean, maybe like 10 years ago when everything was $1 and you would have to steal like 500 things. But now Dollar General is significantly more expensive than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So it's not as though... I feel like it would be pretty easy. I feel like I could manage to steal $500 from a Dollar General.
Yeah, I think it would actually be like not super hard anymore.
And Brian pointed out once had an idiot as a head manager who chased a shoplifter down the street to the Market Basket parking lot to yell at them and tell them that they were banned, which was insane. Lucky she wasn't shot. And Locke asked how many of those are black.
It's New York.
Well, I think he's talking about Brian here in Louisiana.
Oh. Well, that's even... Louisiana.
Wasn't that where the Kingfish was from?
I don't know.
Man, you're the American history guy. You should know this. I'm surprised you haven't done a video on that guy.
I have not. I would have to research that.
Really cool guy. I love that guy. Every man a king.
I should, you know what? I will write that down.
Huey Long. Wait, was that it? Or was Huey Long someone else? Kingfish. I remember the Kingfish.
They're
Well, either way.
scared the mayor is going to put them out of business. Listen.
So, getting into this.
To be able to offer food at lower prices. So
Holy fucking shit. I see why people steal from New York. Holy fucking shit. An Arizona green tea for $3.50? Are you fucking insane? I understand they stopped printing 99 cents on the cans.
Yeah.
But $3.50?
Yeah, that's the reason why they want to do those state grocery stores. They haven't built any of them yet, by the way.
Holy fucking shit. Okay, one sec.
I guess why not work with local stores here in the area instead of potentially pushing them out of business?
Yeah, why not?
So this is not the entire answer to our city.
Well, it's probably because that business looks like a piece of shit.
Hall's approach to tackling food insecurity.
I would not want to shop there. I'm going to be honest.
It is one part of it.
Okay.
What I will say is that for a long time, City Hall has relied exclusively.
Okay, I'm sorry to keep interrupting. This literally looks like a place that sells food on technicality, but you mainly go there to get fucking blunt wraps. You go there to get fucking kratom. You go there to get fucking bath salts or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the fucking...
Yeah.
The Adderall knockoff that's called Adol, XR, like, you know, whatever random chemicals they mixed up that are technically legal for the next 6 months and basically cause you to, like, fucking get brain damage and shit. Fucking bath salts or you eat someone's face off. Like, this is not a grocery store.
Exclusively on subsidies and tax breaks. There's a program called City
Okay,
Fresh
this
that
looks
I've
like
made
a
my
grocery
criticisms
store.
Clear of, that spent nearly the same amount of money that we're talking about spending on creating this supermarket, and yet New Yorkers have seen a rise in grocery prices across the board.
Wait a second. When you give a struggling grocery store in New York a tax break, you haven't spent money, you haven't lost money, you've just stolen less. And now these businesses are terrified. New York bodega.
Well, that is true in a sense that, like, yes, you have taken less, but the entire idea of taxation as theft is actually just kind of stupid. Because let's be honest, yes, you can make the case that it is theft, but its legitimacy, we've all basically agreed to it. No one wants to live in a society that doesn't have any degree. Like, even the most libertarian guy possible is not going to actually want to live truly off the grid, away from all forms of civilization, unless they're Ted fucking Kaczynski. Like, I'm sorry, no one wants this. We just have to accept the degree of taxation.
Nobody wants to live in a government that isn't funded.
Yeah. And yes, I can agree that maybe New York is fucking excessive. But at the same time, I'm fucking sick of the whole, taxation is theft. Fuck off.
It's an expensive city. There's a lot of programs, a lot of things there. If you don't like the taxes, you need to move out of New York. I mean, you'll lose out on all the good parts about being in New York. So, you know, if you like being there, like, you probably like being there because of the programs that are supplied by the local government, and you got to fund those programs.
I don't necessarily think a lot of people like living there because of the programs. I think they love it because of the economic opportunities. I mean, that is where a lot of, like, the major centers of business are. I mean, that's where, like, you know,
for the
Wall
rich
Street
people,
is.
That's for the richer people, you know,
the opportunities genuinely are. Like, if you want to truly, like, if you want to be one of the people exploiting the working class, well, obviously you want to fucking be in New York or Washington, D.C. Now, I don't necessarily think... I think there is a debate on whether some of the programs they're doing are actually worthwhile. But I just have to object to the general principle of taxation being theft. I think that's fucking stupid. And I think nobody takes that idea seriously. I think anytime someone hears that, they just fucking cringe.
Bodega owners came to City Hall last week
Let me know
for
if you
a
want me to
roundtable
pause
discussion at
sometime.
the invitation of the Deputy Mayor for Economic Justice, only to get barraged with intrusive questions about their businesses. The government's not here to help these guys, but it gets worse. Ahead of the meeting last week, the Department of Economic Justice czar asked what items are sold the most at your stores and where is your profit margin the greatest. Wow. They wanted us to share proprietary information with them, but they don't want to answer our questions, and that's why there is distrust. Yeah, the government wants to know how to make money in the grocery business, and then they're going to use the money they make to put every single store out of business. Speaking of which, the first grocery store is being set up in an area where Target already couldn't operate.
The city says has long been plagued by affordability issues where approximately 38% of households receive SNAP benefits.
The area also seeing grocery stores close like the East Harlem Target in 2023 and the East 125th Street Pathmark closing in 2015.
The concept already winning over locals.
I mean, that's actually great because most of these supermarkets around here, they don't supply good food.
This is actually a way more cooler than I think people are actually treating it.
But nobody's asking why there was a Target here and a whole bunch of other stores here that all shut down recently. Why is that? Why did those stores close? And why is the city going to spend $30 million not occupying a...
Okay, well, I have to point out, if there is a genuine reason why they're going to close, then their state-run stores will probably be so inefficient that they're going to operate at such a loss that they'll be forced to close, if not under Mamdani, then someone else. Now, I'm willing to bet what the reason is. It's a pretty dark reason why they were forced to close. Probably one of the darkest reasons you could think. But
yeah. So
one sec, I'm going to. Okay, fucking. So someone in my chat thinks it's the Blats for some reason. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a dark reason. I would never say that.
I think it's mostly because of, for two main reasons. I guarantee that there was a heavy amount of theft, and I guarantee that their profit margin was not great enough. While these state-run grocery stores, they've already, in their plan, they have said that their target is a 2% profit margin, and that 2% profit margin is mostly to account for theft.
So, Brian says, I personally think tax on income and owned properties is theft, but that's just me. So, at one point I agreed with you on income tax. I still actually generally think, at least on your first residential property, like property which you're not using for like rent-seeking behavior, because then I would consider that a form of business. On your primary residence, I would agree that you should not be taxed. Now, when it comes to income, I actually do support the income tax, because I think the alternative, which is typically VAT, value-added taxes, or sales taxes, are actually significantly worse for normal people. Those are forms, typically, of regressive taxation, so they end up hitting normal people significantly more than they hit Elon Musk. Now, I'm just going to use, you know what, I won't use Pennsylvania as an example. I'll use Ohio. It has a 7% sales tax. Terrible state, higher than Pennsylvania. So it has a 7% sales tax, and they even have less exceptions on their sales taxes than we do here in Pennsylvania. Like, I don't think they accept, or they do not count clothing as one of the exceptions. So when you're looking at, say, purchasing in Ohio, you live in Ohio, if you're broke, you're making $30,000 a year. All $30,000 a year is going to rent. It's going to utilities. It's going to food. It's going to clothing. It's going to the things you need to survive. So right off the bat, 7% of your income is taxed. Now, if for some reason Elon Musk hated himself and he wanted to live in Ohio, well, he's probably not spending that much more on clothing than you. Look at the outfits he's wearing. He's not wearing Balenciaga. He's probably actually wearing that same white Walmart t-shirt that Asmongold wears. And he's probably wearing some Levi jeans that do not look good on anybody. And he's probably wearing just some basic sneakers that are $100. So he's paying a similar amount of sales tax to everyone else, despite the fact that he is making significantly more and that his net worth is significantly more. So I think that income tax being a proportional tax is fundamentally a good thing, because it's good for American citizens as a whole. Now, the only argument I can think of for maintaining a sales tax is that it basically serves as a tax on people who are foreign, who are visiting, people who are basically tourists and stuff like that. People would taking part in a community temporarily, but are not otherwise part of that community. But on the whole, I actually think sales tax should be abolished, and in most cases, income tax should be increased on state levels.
Yes. I can agree with that. I think that we need a major tax reform in this country. I think that we have spent too much time doing tax cuts and kind of just expanding tax to being where literally everything is taxed. You're taxed like 30,000 times. And I think it would be easier if we just cut that down to just a handful of taxes that we have, and make sure that we account for the absorbent amount of wealth that people have now. Because at this point, it really seems like most of our tax laws are aimed at lowering taxes for the people at the top and increasing taxes for the people at the bottom at this point. And I think that we need to put some effort towards doing the opposite at this point, because we went too far. We went way too far.
So, yeah, this episode seems to be a lot more where I'm leaning more into the elements I am on the left on, more than, say, the Council of Chuds, where I was mainly talking about things, like race and cultural issues. So I have to say that I think, honestly, the tax code does need to be simplified. It needs to be made so simple that it can be done on one page. And I do think we need to close the loophole where I think if you're borrowing a certain amount of money, let's say if you borrow over $5 million and you use assets as leverage, well, then you should be taxed a certain percentage of that as though it were income.
Your income tax should not be your gross income. It should be your accumulated wealth. So if you are receiving stock value and as payment, that should be considered income, whatever the value of the stock is whenever you get it.
So I would be fine with it as in, like, you're receiving new stock as a form of payment rather than, say, like unrealized gains, because the issue with unrealized gains is
we don't know what
up until
it
you
is.
sell them, like, is unrealized losses, like, do they count? Like, I lost $5,000 on crypto last year. Have I lost $5,000 yet? Or, I mean, crypto may jump up next year and I may end up getting $10,000. So it's like, that's the issue. But whenever you're given new stock, I would agree.
Yes. When something is given to you as payment, whatever its value is, whenever it's given to you, should be considered income.
I would agree on that. But let's jump back into the
a space
video.
Filled by a former grocery store that used to exist. That would be way cheaper. It would make way more sense. Well, in case you forgot, the Target closed because of theft and criminal behavior that put
very dark reason.
Employees at risk. Think about that for a second. That's why the area where the free grocery store is going in doesn't have a grocery store.
The initiative, the city aims to open up one full-service grocery store in every borough where strict pricing, affordability, and labor requirements will be in place. The United Bodegas of Amerika among the critics saying the concept is more of a gimmick than a solution to the current climate, which they say will hurt small business.
You can't serve 8 million people with 5 locations. You can serve 8 million people if you work out a deal with the existing businesses.
With the first site now selected for this.
8 million people live in New York, and you're gonna have 5 stores that are supposed to feed everybody? How are people even gonna get to those stores if they don't live near one of them? How are they gonna get there when the failing New York City public transit system lets them down and won't bring them because people rob that every single day? And what did he just mention as the solution? Work with the...
Okay, well, right off the bat, so I will say I do support the free bus thing, but they do need to fucking crack down on the people who are just fucking around on public transit.
They've
and
tried.
Just making the thing like just fucked up for everyone.
Yeah, well, yeah, that kind of shit sucks. Even the people that live in the city, they hate it whenever they see those people fucking trying to just fucking get paying their fare, because they know that whenever you pay for the subway, you are paying for the maintenance of the subway. Like, that money goes directly back into the subway, and they know, and the locals, they typically know that. So whenever they see somebody that's like skipping the line, just fucking not paying, like, I'm sure that pisses everyone off.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But the subway doesn't run everywhere. In these particular areas, they probably have to take a bus to even get to the subway.
Serious? I assumed that the subway was like a lot more fucking. I mean, I've never been to New York, right? So like, I don't know. I just assumed it was a lot more interconnected in the same way, say, London was.
You've been to Pittsburgh plenty of times, right?
Yes, but I drive.
Yeah, so I've traveled with public transport in Pittsburgh a few times. We have trains in Pittsburgh. I don't know if you know that.
I did not.
It's a similar situation with Pittsburgh that we have with that New York has, where like downtown Pittsburgh, there's a train system in downtown Pittsburgh, and in some of a little bit of the outlying area will have part of the train network, but then the areas outside of that, you'll have to use like buses and stuff in order to get anywhere. And the buses will bring you to areas that are close to the places where you can get onto the train. But with New York, there's a lot of area outside of like main city area, and this is going to be where the poorer people are going to end up being, as well as the richer people, honestly. Because like, if you go to like what's it called? I always get them mixed up because there's a place in, I think it's Long Island is in New York, because there's another something island in California. I always get them mixed up, but right, Long Island is the one that's in New York.
Yes.
Yeah, because that area is like a really rich area.
So I just realized I had this open on the Ron screen, so people missed out on the video so far. But fortunately, we've been stopping it so often, and I did just get that fixed now because I have like 2 different Googles open, and it opened to my default Google rather than my like backup Google, so that, yeah. But anyhow, good thing this is an episode 0. Let's
existing businesses.
See
help
where this goes.
Them compete. But no, competition might mean somebody earns a profit. And if somebody earns a profit, In socialism, that's wrong. Can't have that. Need to shut these businesses down. Business owners at this meeting, which happened last week, gripe that city officials are now only...
So, this is a common misconception with socialism. Profit is not impossible with socialism. It's just that the profit would be a benefit to the workers as well, not just the people at the very top. That's really the only difference. Like, you could still have profit. It's just who gets the profit. Yeah. Yeah. This story seems like it's mostly just a bunch of bodega owners being all upset because they can't scam the shit out of the fucking locals anymore with their $3.50 Arizona iced teas.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. See, that guy putting that in here really made me not want to take his side. Because I'm just seeing that and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I have a very difficult time taking the side of people who want to charge $3.50 for a fucking thing.
It really seems like this guy just really doesn't like Mamdani and really wants to see this fail. And so he's just kind of just trying to find any way to complain about this when it's like, yeah, anybody who's making a profit off the backs of these poor people who are having a hard time buying food are really not going to like it whenever a cheaper option is being made. And whenever this problem that they are taking advantage of is going to go away.
I do need to, of course, push back on what you had previously said in regards to socialism and profit. Now, in the sense that he's talking about, he is actually sort of correct, but also incorrect at the same time. But I would say that ultimately, at least in traditional forms of socialism, any degree of profit would, of course, be split amongst the workers because, of course, the workers would own the means of production. So, therefore, in the sense that he's defining it as in profit for the owners, he is correct in saying that under socialism, profit for the owners is forbidden.
Yeah. Is that a bad thing?
I mean, I do think that investment is valuable. I think there's a degree to which investment no longer warrants, like, you know, the sole focus. I mean, I'm not exclusively a capitalist here. I definitely value what is good for, like, the nation beyond what is good for an individual who happens to own property. I am not single-mindedly subservient to our economic model, but at the same time, I do believe that individualized profit is a great motivator for productivity and success.
Yeah.
And I also believe that we can just make the government say, hey, fuck you, you're doing whatever we want. Because the thing is if the government says jump to a company, they will always ask how high. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
Because the government has guns, and Elon Musk might individually have a gun, but SpaceX doesn't have a gun. Jeff Bezos might own a gun, but Amazon doesn't have a military. And I think it's just generally important to keep that in mind. So while I may not necessarily subscribe to every socialist policy on the books, or theoretically, I shouldn't say on the books, but within the books of, say, Marx or something like that, I do think that oftentimes you do have to balance the interests. Basically, I would say you have to balance the interests between nation, individuals, and business.
seeking their
real quick.
input after.
Well, one real quick thing that I want to make sure that is clear is Mamdani's not strictly a socialist. He's a democratic socialist, which is different because it's not like it's for most people who are democratic socialists. The idea is not to completely convert America into a socialist country. It is to inject some socialism into our capitalist society in order to kind of bring this divide closer, so that there's not such a divide between the rich and the poor, and to kind of make the classes a little bit more stable, and to make sure that there is just make a lower ceiling, bring up the floor a little bit, so that we don't have people who are suffering needlessly in the richest country in the world.
I feel like a lot of the time when you look beyond what people say and what they ultimately do, that I feel like in a sense that often ends up contradicting that. So for instance, you'll have like a lot of DSA members not only say, I'll use the Iran war as an example, not only saying we shouldn't be in this war, but being like, I hope Iran wins this war. So I think a lot of it is not necessarily a principled stand on, like, say, wanting a better economic model, wanting it to be more fair, but I think there is a genuine, huge degree in which resentment flows throughout a lot of democratic socialist policies, and they're just within the DSA because that's the best avenue to express that resentment. And
yeah, I don't think any of those people were actual DSA members, but they are most likely DSA supporters. There are definitely a group of people that are supporting democratic socialism just because it's working really well at destroying the current Democratic Party from within. Because the democratic socialism is really it really sounds a lot better than establishment Democrats right now. Really anything sounds better than them right now.
Well, the issue is that establishment Democrats are completely without any sort of compass whatsoever beyond we oppose the Trump. We oppose Trump. Whatever Trump says is good, is bad. And I'm not even 100% for Trump. It's just, if your entire like this was the issue with, say, like Republicans under Obama. Whenever, like, Republicans under Obama, their entire policy was just like, okay, well, Obama's bad. We're going to oppose anything Obama does. Well, immediately after that, the Republican Party got remade in Trump's image.
Well, they were looking for something different than the stale old Republican Party that they had that wasn't working for them.
True, and I think it has improved significantly. I know I never would have supported the previous Republican Party. Well, I align around 60% of the time with the current, even though I have major disagreements with it, not only in economics, but especially when it comes to Israel. And on some things, I feel like it doesn't go far enough, like on racial and immigration issues. But
after sparking alarms in April with the plans to build this $30 million mega mart down the street from a Target that closed that they could have just reopened. The city says its socialist-inspired vision for at least one supermarket in each borough will not directly compete with existing stores here. How is that possible? Of course it's going to compete with existing stores nearby. Just because certain things aren't sold in the grocery store that might be sold at a bodega, like perhaps a lottery ticket, doesn't mean there is not competition. People are going to be flooding these free grocery stores because the prices are going to be lower, and they're going to be made lower with the tax dollars from the people running the bodegas. This is terrible. Mamdani's plan to subsidize the grocery stores with taxpayer funds so they can offer rock bottom prices threatens grocers who operate on a 2 to 3% profit margin. These guys are not making a ton of money in the grocery business. They're making 2 to 3%.
So, I mean, he is acknowledging now that they're not free grocery stores.
Yeah, while calling them free grocery stores at the same time.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. These free grocery stores are going to offer cheap food.
But not free. They're not free.
But not free?
The free grocery stores are not
free. Or not?
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah. I didn't know that they were going to subsidize them, though. From what I heard, that they were running on a low profit margin to allow room to account for theft. But it sounds like they're subsidizing them now, which is different. I didn't know that they made that change. Which I mean, it doesn't really change anything for me because I would rather tax dollars be used for something like that than be wasted on government contracts or on bloated military budgets or whatever the fuck.
I will agree. I do prefer that any benefits are restricted to American citizens, but I mean, this isn't really something that could feasibly be restricted, so I can't necessarily make that same argument on something like, subsidized groceries, stores at any rate, in the way I could for, say, EBT.
You erase that, they have no choice but to shut down. The only way they win is on volume, and if their customers are redistributed to the socialist grocery store, the volume is going to be redistributed, and they're going to have to close. And as you're about to see,
the customers are redistributed. That's fucking a stupid fucking phrase. I'm getting back to the video. I'm sorry I keep pausing, but holy fuck, that's a stupid phrase.
You know what they could do? What they could do to restrict it to locals is they could require you to use your ID at checkout. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying locals, I'm saying citizens. So that's distinct.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you're paying local taxes, you should be capable of taking advantage of the grocery stores.
I feel like
whether you're citizens or not. Yeah.
I feel like if you're a non-citizen, you should not get any benefits. Your benefits is simply being here, personally.
Yeah, well, I would only. I think if you're paying taxes, you as long as you're there legally and you're paying taxes, and you're at this point a local. You're local enough to have a local ID and a residency there, and a job. You should get some benefits from it. Not all benefits, obviously. I mean, like, you're not a citizen yet, so you're not going to be getting like the ability to vote and stuff like that because you're not an American citizen. But at the very least, you should get access to the grocery stores and the buses. You're paying for them.
Yeah, I mean, with those at least, it would be more costly to deny people than it would be to enforce, than it would be to just let it go. So I can't actually sit here and be like, okay, on principle, I'm against it, but in practicality, I have to concede just because it's practical.
It's completely impractical to.
They want to do.
But there's only going to be one of these, according to Mamdani's plan, one of these in every borough. Why would one grocery store in each borough put bodegas out of business?
Cancer starts with a small cell in your body. And if you don't extract it, it spreads. You start with one idea like this, a foolish idea, it may spread. And we don't want it to get to that. We want
How? Like, what are you worried is going to happen?
It will only spread if it's successful.
If he decides that one store worked, maybe 2 stores would work, maybe 100 stores will work.
Oh.
And if you let him
Is he scared that
spread
this will work?
his ignorance, because this is being ignorant, really, then we have a huge problem.
Why is it ignorant?
It's ignorant because
it's never worked. Find me an example where it's worked. Find me a city-run grocery store that's succeeded anywhere.
Erie Market.
If it hasn't worked, then so I'm always the type of person, I never necessarily, if something seems like it will benefit people, I don't want it to fail. I'm skeptical whether it will succeed or not, but at the same time, he seems more worried that it will succeed.
Yeah. If it's successful, then maybe it should grow.
Yeah.
If it's actually if it's a net positive, I mean that's the point. I mean, you're not. We have so many problems right now. You're not gonna fix all of them with proven, well vetted policies. Sometimes we gotta try things that are a little bit, out of the ordinary. Things that are not so common.
I would rather just roll the dice, If shit's not working out, flip over the fucking table from time to time. I mean, that's why people fucking like Trump to any extent, is because, people weren't like, wow, this guy's a genius. They were like, wow, this guy has some balls and he's gonna tell people to fuck off.
The 4D chess people think he's a genius.
What?
The 4D chess people think he's a genius.
Yes, but the 4D chess people, the 4D chess people are the pigeons who are playing chess.
Yes.
They're the ones shitting over the board.
They're the people who are playing checkers with a single color and they think they're winning.
Yeah. Fucking anyone who uses the term 4D chess should not be allowed to vote. That's on my list.
Legitimately. Who uses it not ironically.
I am creating a list of people who should be disenfranchised as part of my political ideology. And people who say 4D chess are on that list, I assure you.
Find me a socialist economic model anywhere in the world that has brought wealth to the people who pay into that model. Not gonna happen. Also, these 5 stores, there's gonna be 5 stores for 8 million people. Not all 8 million people are gonna be able to get to those 5 stores, but all 8 million people living in New York City are gonna have to pay more money for those stores to exist. The whole thing is a loss for everybody except the communists running the stores.
Bodega owners are immigrants.
Ignorant.
If they're subsidizing it, there's not gonna be any profit. What are you talking about?
Oh, if the bodega owners are immigrants, you just gave me a great pitch for supporting these stores. Thank you very much.
I don't understand. The whole point is to fix food deserts, not to give out food. Not all 8 million people in New York need access to these stores. And not all 8 million people are going to be going to these stores.
Oh, without a doubt. Obviously you don't need a fucking state-run store in Manhattan. It could be the most expensive thing imaginable, and people are still going to fucking grab shit from Manhattan because it's in their area and they don't give a shit about money. Dude, we are worse than Asmongold level on reacting to holy shit. I have the feeling we've spent an hour so far on just this video and we're 6 minutes in. We can definitely argue this shit is transformative without a doubt.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because most bodega owners are immigrants. They come from very poor countries, and they come here to try to make a living,
Yeah, so they're used to
do the
never
right
making
thing by
money.
the city.
I don't
Bodegas
care.
is not just where you sell food. It's also, they're also community centers. So if you're able to
No, they're not. They're places of business. They are not truly places to hang out. They're places to sell overpriced shit.
infiltrate
Yeah.
government,
You can
into
make that
private-
case
into
about
the
a bar.
private sector. You're basically
You can make that case about a park. You can make that case about a
You'd
pool
have a
hall.
better
Pool
case.
hall.
You'd have a better case about a park, especially in New York.
Dude, you could make that case about a fucking trap house. I'm not going to hear that a fucking convenience store is a community center. This is fucking stupid.
ruining the dreams and the spirits of all these small business people who have risked everything they have, borrowed everything they could borrow to open their small business. How is government, how are you going to take my tax dollars and use it to compete against the small business people that are trying to make a living and are paying taxes?
Because you know what? As a business owner, according to the communists, you earning an income is wrong. That means you're exploiting someone. So we're going to take that income away from you, and we're going to use it and give it back to the people you're stealing from. Never mind the fact that your bodega exists and puts up with the high crime, which Target doesn't want to put up.
Did he just describe taxes as theft again?
Yes.
As communists, we're going to take a portion of your income and we're going to use it for public good. Okay, that's taxes. Everyone does that. It's not a communist thing. It's not a fucking socialist thing. It's just government.
Well, you have to understand, taxes is socialism is when the government does things. Military is socialism. Firefighters is socialism.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Everything is socialism. There's never been a single capitalist economy. It's never been tried, in fact.
Yeah.
Real capitalism has never been tried. This is not a self-refuting meme. This is not a fucking retarded joke of a statement. This is a serious political ideology, motherfucker. I was coming into this being like, okay, I am probably going to agree with this guy. You and I are going to argue about this. And we're just sitting here shitting on this guy because he's kind of a moron.
Yeah, we've turned this into, you're now agreeing with me on socialism. More
Look,
often
man,
than you're
put national
yeah.
in front of it. Let me do some goose steps. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
One sec. Nah, y'all don't have tooth blood or dead rats as an alarm clock. That is true. I put a lot of effort. Dude, I go to the dentist like fucking once a month at this point. Because I watch Asmongold and I'm like, man, I do not want to be that guy. I'm like going there getting everything fixed. I'm like, most of my teeth are metal now. Straight up.
I have really bad tooth genetics, so I could probably pull a tooth out right now if I wanted to. You know,
okay, so you're more Asmongold than me.
Yeah.
Man, Dead rat is an alarm clock, though. Do I have anything that's ever been comparable to that? And, like, I don't think so. I don't think so, actually. Just, like, I have, like, beer cans.
I had a dead mouse in my dryer once.
How long did you keep it there after you realized it was there?
We didn't know what the smell was for a while. It went through like the vent from outside and it died in the vent. We didn't know what the smell was for a while. We just knew that there was a smell in there and we were looking for it until like the smell went away, but the dryer stopped working. We took the vent off and just this fucking solid fucking mouse corpse fell out.
So I think to truly be an Asmongold, you have to practice radical acceptance of this type of shit. Like, you have to know that there's, like, a corpse in your dryer, and you just have to be like, that's the way it is. So true, bro. So true. You just ignore the mouse, not there.
I do that with spiders.
Oh,
My
yeah.
house is absolutely fucking covered in spiders.
Spiders, dude, they fucking benefit you. They keep the other bugs away.
I feed them.
Like,
anytime I find an ant or some shit or a fly, you know, if I can fucking catch that thing, it's going to the spiders.
I have a deal with all spiders. They don't bother me. I don't bother them. Like, if they're not making webs in an area I feel is inconvenient for them to make a web, I don't care.
I truly believe in the negative tax that I talk about. I'm paying taxes to my to my renters here. the spiders.
One sec, I got plug in my phone because I ordered some food.
All right.
All right, I am back. Fucking hell. Okay, let's throw this shit back on.
With after Target closes is the only thing keeping that neighborhood there. They should be thanking these bodegas. When that Target shut down in East Harlem, it became a food desert. But you know what? A lot of these bodegas stayed open. A lot of them had more.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. May I please have another Arizona green tea for $3.50, sir? Please, sir, may I have some more?
More business. A lot of them did what they could to stock their shelves with more and more stuff. Why is the government not rewarding them for staying open? Because it doesn't want them to stay open. It wants them gone, and that's what's going to happen once these free stores open up.
This doesn't make sense.
In essence, you're saying that this plan will hurt the very people he says he's trying to help.
Like communism.
It doesn't make sense because not only will it hurt the people he claims he's trying to help, he's going to drive a lot of these businesses out of business, or he's going to scare people. It's like people are scared of ICE. It's like people are scared of people like Mamdani that will come in and start opening up businesses and giving food away and competing with those that have invested their money into their small business.
How much of this is going to help your local small business? Freezing the...
Well, it's because not everything is targeted towards the small business.
Yeah.
And I do think freezing the rent is a bad idea. I think it should be better to build more housing and make housing so competitive that basically you don't necessarily have to worry what one individual place's rent price is, because there's about 700, I don't want to say 7, yeah, I'll say, let's say there's like 3 fucking buildings that someone could possibly rent in, and the fucking landlords are forced to compete, or even better, more people fucking own their own property, even if it only happens to be a condo. People should actually fucking own things instead of renting things. The entire idea that rent should be the norm is fucking insane.
Yep.
If you're renting, you're not actually establishing any connection to your community. You're basically fucking a slave. There's a reason they're called landlords. It's because there is a inherently hierarchical system between the two of you. And yes, I will agree with socialists on this. Now, I do think baby baskets for newborns, I don't see why the fuck they would be giving those out for free. You should just...
I've never even heard that before.
Yeah, this probably is just some shit Fox News came up with.
Yeah,
and,
honestly. Fox
30
News is
an
a bad
hour
source.
minimum wage. I don't know enough about New York to have an opinion
That
on
might
minimum
be
wage.
that might be true. I mean, I know that generally, if you were to increase that 15 that people were talking about, based on the change in cost of living, it would be equivalent to like something like $25 or $27 an hour right now. And with New York being more expensive than anywhere else, $30 an hour minimum wage might actually be where it should be. I'm not 100% sure. But when it comes to that freeze the rent, the goal isn't to make that permanent. It is just it's a temporary thing while the housing issue is solved. It's to prevent people from going completely bankrupt and prevent the pain that's currently happening right now while the bigger issue of the housing crisis is solved, because we're not going to solve it overnight.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, I didn't actually pull this up because I wasn't planning on talking about this at all. But there was a fucking post I had seen on Twitter where someone had brought up what had happened the last time New York had tried a rent freeze, and it was that. Sorry, one sec. Hello? Yes? The orange door? Yeah. Thank you so much. You're welcome, but next time you call the store and we'll change the address to wherever you're at for you. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. But I kept it safe. I put it in a bag, so open and tied it, so hopefully it's safe when you get home. Oh, yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Have a good night. You too. I don't know why DoorDash was confused. I am where I'm at. But anyhow, that's irrelevant. Okay, what I was going to talk about was someone had posted something about how the last time they had tried rent freezes, that a series of landlords actually burned down their own apartments out of spite. And basically, to be fair, I think they were also bringing up that they were Jewish landlords. Maybe that's relevant, maybe that's not. But just arrest the landlords for doing that, and then you can fucking, oh, you burned down your own property? Well, you're going to jail, and because you committed a crime and threatened bunch of other people's fucking property, well, we're seizing the fucking assets, and we're building fucking something there to begin with. Just, fuck you, you can't just burn down something in the middle of a city. We're not fucking allowing that.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the new I forget what they call the commission or whatever for the land and property in New York, but they completely replaced everybody in there, because one of the biggest issues that they've been talking about for a while is that there's a lot of just shitty landlords in New York that are really abusive to their tenants, and they don't fix anything. They just continuously jack up the rent, and they're like the most evil form of cartoonish capitalists is what they are. Like the cartoonish form of an evil capitalist.
Now, that said, I do think that whenever someone moves out, they should be able to potentially increase the rent in order for them to make repairs, for them to improve the building, and stuff like that. I do think that's I'm going off memory here, but I do think that was something that Mondami's housing policy did restrict. Now, come to think of it, I think it was actually I heard that from this guy when I was half paying attention to it. So that may have been complete bullshit. I need to look into that more, because after seeing this video, I'm a lot more skeptical of this guy.
This guy seems like he's pro-billionaire.
Yeah, and look, man, I'm on the right, but I am pro-American. I'm pro-normal American. I am pro-nation, pro-normal person. I am not I don't give a shit what's in the best interest of the billionaire class. I give a shit about what is in the best interest of the people I grew up around. And to the extent that the right has been doing that, I'm on the side of the right. To the extent that the left is doing that, I'll support the left. It just so happens a lot of the left has been fucking taken over by fucking like Islamic identity politics and some of the dumbest bullshit I've ever fucking seen.
That's those are reasons why we tend to agree more often than you'd expect, because I get in trouble with some of the people on the left because there are people on the left who think that I am like some type of right-wing chud because I'm like pro-gun, and I'm less like anti-billionaire and more just pro-American working class. I'm more pro just like your average American. I just want to see like America working for the people of America.
Dude, you should see some of the fucking right-wingers who fucking reply to me on Twitter. I've been called a fake Nazi, and I'm like, bro, I never even claimed to be a fucking Nazi. I'm like, what?
Yeah, fake Nazi.
I'm like, bro, I'm just a garden variety racist. Holy fuck. I'm a Slav. I'd be in a death camp.
The rent on apartments, that's going to destroy small
Hipster
businesses.
Hitler
Why?
over
The
here.
apartments are located here, and on the ground floor there's a store. Well, the rent's frozen for the apartments, but not for the store. So when the landlord has to pay his increased taxes, he's going to come to the little grocery store and say, hey, your rent's got to go up because I got to pay my taxes. Then the grocery store has to raise its prices, and all the people in the apartments upstairs get to pay more. And the other stuff on this list isn't going to help. $30 an hour minimum wage. Yeah, you want to have a grocery store run by robots? That's how you'll get it.
Listen, New York is
the grocery store is run by the owner. Those bodegas, they don't hire people. Like, they're always ran by the owner and like the owner's family.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
so like, who the fuck are they raising?
A lot of like Indian convenience stores, like in anywhere, really. It's like you have like their family. They might bring over someone who's a distant relative. Or it might be a case where they have an H-1B visa for someone. Because apparently you can get an H-1B visa for someone who works at 7-Eleven. That's a completely reasonable thing. No one in America can possibly work at a 7-Eleven. It's a very high IQ job that no one can possibly manage.
In the world. This is where the melting pot happens. And it's come together with people that have migrated here to make a living, to be able to support their families.
No, it's not. We have the actual pot in Pittsburgh.
To better the quality of their life. They didn't come to a socialist city or a socialist country or a country that's going to take from them and not give them. Listen, what we need here is to make sure that every New Yorker knows and understands. Don't make the mistakes we made almost 12 years ago when we voted another socialist in de Blasio into City Hall.
Well, it happened.
So I don't recall de Blasio, but this was 12 years ago. So admittedly, I wasn't quite as engaged in politics 12 years ago at the age of 16. But I have the feeling that this man was not actually a genuine socialist. I have the feeling that this is more akin to saying Obama was a socialist, which he was not. And let's be honest about this. We can be honest about things.
From what I see looking it up, whenever he was actually mayor of New York City, he claimed that he was a progressive Democrat, not a socialist. He claimed that he was. Oh, okay. So in his re-election in 2017, he called himself a Democratic Socialist. I wonder why he said that. It might have been popular around that time.
Yeah. Oh wow, a branding.
Yeah. It's
kind of like how Lindsey Graham is suddenly MAGA. I mean, everyone knows that Lindsey Graham embodies the MAGA principles that all of the MAGA Republicans in the base really support. They're really all about foreign intervention. They're really about, neoconservative values and about Israel. Like, that's clearly why a lot of the MAGA really hated Thomas Massey, for instance, because he did not embody those neoconservative values, so they hated him. And that's exactly why that the MAGA coalition, which mainly leans towards younger Republicans, was entirely absent from supporting Thomas Massey, and he was not voted out predominantly by 70 and 80-year-olds who only watch Fox News.
Yeah, it calling yourself a democratic socialist after 2016 it is a great example, and the weird thing where like now every right-wing conservative is MAGA all of a sudden, even when they hated Trump whenever he was first trying to get elected, is a great example of what I've said many times about why there was this random fucking boom of like every fucking country had a new socialist leader in the early 1900s. Maybe it was because of Karl Marx's fame in like the 1910s.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because of that. Maybe that's why everybody suddenly was communist in order to gain fame, because his ideas became popular around that time.
So, Brian ended up saying that if he had to label himself, he would be a left-leaning centrist. Personally, I vote with whatever I feel is right based on my own morals and what benefits me, my family, and my neighbors. I generally agree, although I consider myself more on the right. Normally, look, if there was a way for me to say, because these words put together, they make sense. They make sense in isolation of the context.
I know what you're about to say.
If you were able to isolate these words from the context and the previous person who happened to use these words, this is what I would identify as, even though I do not agree with the person who used these words. I would identify as a National Socialist, not because I am a Hitlerist, but because I believe in nationalism and I believe in a degree of socialism. And I believe putting those two things together produces a good outcome, which is not to say that I am focusing all of my attention on Jews all the time. I really don't give a shit about Jews. I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm concerned about the nation and what's good for the people within it. And that's really where I stand. I'm like looking at things from a very utilitarian perspective of what is good for American citizens.
Could you explain what nationalism is to you? Because when anybody like me on the left thinks of nationalism, we go straight to just like just blind devotion to the country and blind devotion to the government, no matter who's in control.
Nationalism fundamentally is a focus on national interest. It is prioritizing your nation's interest before the interest of any other entity. It is to a great degree an identification with the nation. So there is a degree to which you're like, I want America, like things you would not accept from like other nations, you will accept from America because it is within your interest to support that. So for
prioritizing your nation's success over anything else.
Yes. So for instance, I would not want Iran to have nuclear weapons. I want the US to have nuclear weapons. Why would I want Iran to have it? Ideally, probably no one would have nuclear weapons, but the thing right below that is we have nuclear weapons and no one else does.
Okay. Yeah. So with the definition that you said, I would largely agree with that for the most part. I think that there is some amount of external effort that we need to put out in order to guarantee our success, which I don't think that you would be as willing to accept, though. Like some of the USAID stuff, I understand was definitely a waste and really wasn't really necessary. But there's also a lot that we shouldn't have stopped. And on the surface, it didn't sound like it was like worth it to spend our tax money on that. But we've found out the reason why we were doing it with the explosion of things like Ebola and screwworm.
To be fair, in the case of Ebola, we saw videos of that. I'm not sure I can find these or pull them up. But we were literally, like, there were people who were trying to, like, keep people from, like, touching the bodies, the Ebola-ridden corpses, and the fucking Africans were waving around machetes, scaring them off. I'm like, look, man, you can't keep people from killing themselves with that. You just can't.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, but we have to...
Nobody listened to the warning that if someone says they're a communist and they believe in city-run grocery stores and frozen rent, that they're going to come into office and do it. All these things are happening right now. Yet everybody in New York thinks it's going to work. You've got people clapping for the frozen rent, not understanding that the rent at the grocery store is not frozen. And if the landlord wants to stop going bankrupt, your groceries are about to cost more. But you know what? That's going to be great news for the city-run grocery stores. Oh yeah, those are going to be even more popular once the grocery prices have to go up even more. Yep. Why aren't we trying to bring in new grocery stores?
Well, there's still a limit to how far they can go up. To the point where they go out of business, and then the landlord would realize that as well. So, I mean, there is a limit. That's still
you know what's ironic?
Markets work.
You know what's ironic?
What?
At the beginning of this video, you talked about how other grocery stores tried it and they went bankrupt. That's the reason why there's no grocery store there. They did try. They did try to put other grocery stores there. It didn't work. But there's still people there that need food.
Yeah.
That's why we're putting the state-run grocery stores there. Because somebody needs to be there.
Aren't we helping businesses like this bodega right here? Look, they have shelf space. They have refrigerators. You could stock this place full of all kinds of stuff if you wanted to. But nope, the last thing the communist government is going to do is tell these businesses money on that they can make fucking more money. That's the last thing they're going to do because making money's wrong. Here's why grocers are worried. It says that they first need to know how the city plans to avoid displacing existing businesses. You see, that's what they're worried about. They're worried this thing is going to open and they're not going to have any customers. At last week's meeting, bodega owners got rattled because the city asked the invitees not to share details from the meeting with the NYC Groceries Interagency Task Force. That's weird. So they're trying to have these meetings and keep them secret and ask questions like, what do you sell that makes the most money? But over the last week, we've seen the rent freeze kick off and the grocery stores. That's what's going to happen next. And to understand what's going to happen over here, we got to look at what's already happening because rents were frozen. Watch this.
Big Apple's real estate market is taking another hit. Google co-founder and billionaire Sergey Brin reportedly dumped his stake in a New York City investment fund for pennies on the dollar. Landlords are suffering from rent controls and explosive costs under Zohran Mamdani's administration.
Yeah.
And Brin, well, he just wanted to get out before it was too late. All right, Charlie, I want to come to you on this here because the numbers suggest he took a $75 million loss on this. I wish we were all in that position.
How much?
Yeah, I don't know.
75 billion?
75 billion, 100 billion.
In the scheme of things.
Okay, this is the only thing he's brought up this entire video that could theoretically be a cause for concern. If less investment money is going into New York, that is objectively a bad thing.
Yeah, if that's true. Yeah, I would agree.
But we're like, 12 minutes into the video, and I've only heard one genuinely good argument so far.
And this is Fox Business, which is kind of known for getting shit wrong constantly. So, they're not even really a great source.
I'm going to say, while they may not necessarily be a good source when it comes to speculation, I mean, assuming this is factually correct, which you would assume it is because they named somebody specific. If they were just like business owners are leaving and they didn't name anyone, that would be a lot more contentious. But when you hear $75 million is dropped, now it is worth noting that that's probably the most notable case so far. That could not be part of a trend, or it could be part of a greater trend, which we'll see more of. It's hard to say for certain, but that still does represent, I mean, that's at least a dot on the graph. Whether that's going to make a line, we don't know, but this does seem to be a potential cause for concern.
That might not be that much,
but
because it could cost him more
the
staying.
psychological pain of loss is taxes that he's going to have to pay.
So this Google co-founder dumped his New York City real estate investments. Why did he do that? Why would he lose $700 million? Because he thought he was going to lose more if he didn't sell today for whatever he could get. There's no reason to invest in New York City real estate. And once...
Wait, I thought they said 75. Did they say 700 originally?
Remember.
I'm pretty sure they just said 75.
Yeah.
Because $700 million in losses, that's a lot different from 75.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a shit ton of money.
I don't think someone is going to be stupid enough to put, like, unless that's like your main focus, unless you're like Donald Trump. Like, I don't think if you're predominantly a Google founder, you're gonna have diversified assets through a bunch of cities. You're probably not gonna have nearly $1 billion in one city unless you're a real estate developer.
If somebody lost nearly $1 billion because of the rent freeze, that would be a huge headline.
One sec.
I don't know. 75 billion?
75 billion, 100 billion.
In the scheme of things, that might not be that much.
But
because
no,
it
man,
could cost him more
the
staying.
psychological pain of loss is
taxes that he's going to have to pay.
So this Google
I don't know. Controls and explosive costs under Zohran Mamdani's administration.
And what's going to happen over here? We got to look at what's already happening because rents were frozen. Watch this.
Big Apple's real estate market is taking another hit. Google co-founder and billionaire Sergey Brin reportedly dumped his stake in a New York City investment fund for pennies on the dollar. Landlords are suffering from rent controls and explosive costs under Zohran Mamdani's administration.
Yeah.
And Brin, well, he just wanted to get out before it was too late. All right, Charlie, I want to come to you on this here because the numbers suggest he took a $75 million loss on this.
$75 million. That's a lot different from... I'm going to, in good faith, assume this guy misspoke and not say that he was
And once the free grocery stores come out, the exact same thing is going to happen. There's going to be no reason to start a business that competes directly with the government and loses every single time while the government's going to tax the owners of that company for being millionaires or for earning a profit.
Open a vape shop.
Find them out of existence just for existing, just so that they can then beat them when it comes to the battle.
If your business is unable to provide any type of resource or any type of benefit beyond the bare minimum to excuse the to make it worth paying the premium, then maybe your business is not viable and you should go back to the drawing board and figure out what you're doing, because you're just exploiting people.
That is true.
If your whole business model is just the same thing the other person's doing, but more expensive, right? Like, I mean, there's plenty of places that people go to that are more expensive, but people go there anyways because it has some other factor to it. And sometimes that factor is literally just convenience. I mean, out here we got Sheetz, which is like Wawa or Buc-ee's or whatever in other states. And that shit's like, everything there is more expensive, but I still go there because it's just right there. You know, it's always on the way. It's always convenient. And I'm willing to pay the little bit extra because of the convenience, even though I could save money by just going down the street a little bit more and stopping at a Dollar General or going over to Walmart or wherever.
Dude, I drive to the same game store to buy Warhammer, even though they're not giving the discounts they used to because I like the people who work there and I like the store.
Yeah.
I could buy it off Amazon, but I don't.
Yeah, he's acting like every single person some type of bargain hunter. You know, most people are just they're going to whatever place is close.
Yeah, and it's also like that's the issue with the whole rational actor theory that underlies libertarianism, is that it assumes fundamentally people are rational actors and that they look at value in the same way when they don't. Oftentimes value is abstracted. Simply someone, for instance, say like you go to a vape shop, they remember your name, that's an inherent value. Something, and you can't really put a necessarily monetary aspect on that, but you might be more willing to go to that vape shop or that bar or that barber or whatever than like someone who might be cheaper or better or provide a better quality simply for something that's entirely abstract.
Over people's wallets. He was
100%.
invested in a company that held rental properties in New York. Those are the ones with all the frozen rent that are now worthless, that now nobody wants. Listen, when the whales are getting out, the whole market collapses and there's no recovery. Right now,
Good.
in
People
New York
can
City,
hopefully buy
you have
property.
57,000
that'd be awesome.
vacant apartments that are regulated by the government. Why? Because they have been regulated into not being able to compete. These are apartments where the rents are frozen. They can't be renovated with the owner expecting to recoup any of that money after renovating, so they're not. And this is what our storefronts are going to look like. You think...
Okay, that's a good point. Then maybe he should instead focus his advocacy on trying to advocate for people like landlords, for instance, to get renovations through the government. If that's going to be the approach of New York, where they're going to approach socialism, well, just accept that approach and fucking try to advocate through that lens. That's what you have to do.
A bunch of storefronts are going to be full of thriving businesses if the government's competing with them. And here's the slippery slope that we're on. The government-run stores, oh yeah, they're saying they don't want to compete with the private bodegas, so they're not going to sell some of the stuff at the bodegas. Well, what is the excuse for opening these grocery stores? Target's gone. All these companies are shutting down. Never mind, they got looted out of existence, and that's why they closed. The excuse is, well, there's no store there right now. People can't get what they need. So these stores, they are gonna open and they're gonna have a whole bunch of customers. But you know what? There's gonna be some stuff people buy and they're gonna say, Mr. Mayor, we wanna buy that stuff at the city-run stores. Why won't you sell us the things we wanna buy? We're paying all these taxes, you built these stores, you spent all this money, and you don't have the stuff that I need. And then the product offering at these stores is going to expand. The product offering will grow until it has the product catalog of a Walmart.
Because a state-run store will still have, like, a lot of controversy. For instance, if they're selling lottery tickets and cigarettes and blunt wraps and fucking kratom and all that other sort of stuff that they're not going to be able to sell that a bodega can.
Paid for
Also,
by
their
all
incentive
New
is
Yorkers,
not profit.
but limited to 5 locations.
incentive
Not
is
all 8 million
what
people
the
living in
needs
New
of the
York are even able to
public
get
are.
to. But this is what happens when you are running a city in a country you think has been rigged since day one. Listen.
Nearly a decade ago, I too felt what you feel. The joy of no longer being just a New Yorker, but an American too. You each hold a special power. The power to determine what America means. The powerful have always known their answer. America, in their view, is an arena of supremacy, where only a select few are allowed freedom, where not all are created
Who
equal.
thinks that way?
America, if you ask them, becomes less the more people it welcomes.
But who are these
America,
people?
they will tell you, belongs only to those with the right accent or the right shade of skin.
Agreed.
The rest of us, they insist, should be grateful for merely being allowed to visit. How small they are. How weak, how unoriginal. At every moment in our past, those who led through exclusion and isolation have tried to win power and enrich themselves by turning us against one another.
But that's what's happening here in New York City. You see.
Okay, I will jump in on that. There was a right-wing rally. It got fucking firebombed. He went on a huge rant about how the Islamic extremists who did it, he barely talked about them. He talked about ad nauseum about how the rally was filled with white supremacists. He's just as divisionary as I am. I'm not even going to humor that.
The mayor is out there saying that the reason you can't...
Quick. This is the mayor of New York City. Did you expect him to be a Nazi?
No, but I'm expecting him not to cover for Islamic terrorists.
Not you specifically, but this guy who is like all upset about the mayor of New York talking about diversity in literally the most diverse city in America, and like the city where like their whole thing is diversity. Is that just everybody is there? This is the entry point to America.
I mean, that is a fair point.
Like,
my issue is just that I will say this, I've noticed this trend. Like you, I don't like religion a whole lot. And I think that Muslims especially do have the tendency that the extremist Muslims kill people, and the moderate Muslims typically will do cover for Islamic extremists. And I think Christians don't really do that in the same extent. I'm not the biggest fan of Christianity, admittedly. But, you know, when there's a Christian extremist who bombs an abortion center, 99% of Christians, every moderate Christian is going to say that's a bad thing. When there's an Islamic terrorist, a lot of Muslims are going to play defense. Like someone like Sneeko, for instance, who I was going to cover. It's getting too late. But basically, like, he'll always cover for it.
I definitely agree. Like, the covering for Islamic extremists is not helping the case of the Islamic moderate base. Like, that's one thing with Hassan that I'm like, you really fucked up whenever you said that shit about 9/11, because now it's really hard for you to claim that there's a difference between Islamic extremists and Islamic moderates, and that Islamic moderates are like the average Christian in America, where they don't really go to church or anything. They just kind of like, it's what their parents believed. But
yeah, and Hassan is not even actually a Muslim. Like, genuinely, he's not. He's an atheist. He's culturally... He's
culturally Muslim.
Yeah, he's culturally Muslim in the same way that, like, you and I are culturally Christian. Like, we'll, like, go to Christmas dinner with our families and stuff.
Yeah. I celebrate Christmas and shit like that, you know?
And I will say, like, the 9/11 thing doesn't bother me nearly as much because I can see where he's coming from in that specific circumstance where you're talking about blowback.
Yeah.
That annoys me less so than when he's playing, like, you know, Hezbollah clips, and he's like, they're a very musical people. And he's fucking showing them fucking shooting off guns and fucking doing, like, you know, throat singing and stuff, and it's like...
He makes some dumbass Republican upset all the time, and I always see clips of him out of context all the time, because I've never watched one of his streams, but I've seen clips of his. They show up in like my TikTok and Shorts feed and shit, because, you know, the algorithms figured out I'm left wing, you know. But he does shit all the time where he pretends to be a terrorist, or he pretends to be like a super like fucking pro establishment Democrat, and he makes fun of those types of things all the time. And then these people will take it out of context and be like, that's just who he is. Or like there's a thing, I don't even know if you've seen this recently, where he was dancing to an Indian version of the Charlie Kirk song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are so many people on Twitter, and I think it's hilarious that these people are so fucking upset about this. But there's so many people on Twitter who are like, this is so disrespectful. This man, he died. And Hassan knew him, and now he's dancing on his grave. And then meanwhile, the fucking video that they posted is an Indian cover of the fucking "We Carry the Flame" Charlie Kirk song.
Yeah, I can't comment as far as making fun of dead people. I do it all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I can't take some moral high ground here. I think at least on Twitter, I wish death on like 7 people just today. So I'm not about to take a moral high ground.
if it
And
was
one of them
Hassan,
was Hassan.
if it was Hassan, every single one of those people who are complaining about this would be posting the same video, but them doing it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I said this when
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk got killed, when I was not banned from Facebook. I was like, everyone who is upset about Charlie Kirk
Wait,
will be cheering
You got-
when someone else gets killed.
but you got
Everyone
killed?
who is cheering on the assassin will be crying when someone else gets killed. We all fucking love violence. We all fucking love when our enemies are killed. I'm the only one willing to fucking admit it.
Wait, it was murder? I thought his neck just did that.
Well, there was something going on there. He should have seen a chiropractor.
I thought he just got mad and then it's just his neck did that.
Can't afford your groceries is because the immigrant-owned business on the corner that is barely surviving in an environment of massive taxes and massive crime has your worst interest in mind and
I will
just
say
wants
they should
to
crack down on
exploit
crime.
you. That's division. When you say that the reason a person can't afford to live in New York isn't the fault of the government that is making it unaffordable here by refusing to allow houses to be built, by taxing these businesses out of oblivion just to compete with them, that's wrong. That's division. And you know why it's happening? The division here in New York is happening so that everybody can get on the side of the communists and can say, oh, you know what? Thank God for Mayor Mamdani. Let me hang his picture on the wall back there next to Maduro and next to Kim and next to all the other dictators in my life that have provided for me, because you know what? Without him freezing my rent, I wouldn't be able to stay here. Without him giving me free groceries, I wouldn't be able to stay here. Without him capping all of my costs and getting back at these greedy landlords and these greedy grocery store owners that have been stealing from me every single day of my life, I wouldn't even be able to stay here. Thank you so much for communism. That's why this division is happening, and it's happening because of the communists. Americans don't want division, and we're actually united in the idea that competition is a good thing. Here's why.
Liberals should love markets not because they allow the strong to dominate or inequality to grow, but because genuine competition allows the little guy to challenge the strong.
Right.
A healthy market is not one in which 4 companies quietly divide up an industry and use lawyers, lobbyists, and algorithms to keep challengers out.
Or where the government takes
It's one
over.
in which new entrants can rise.
Yes, that is true, but that is not the market in which we live in. Yes, I would greatly prefer if there was actually that situation, but the fact is that yes, the government does play a role in establishing these monopolies, but the government is also the only thing that can prevent these monopolies, and they're not doing a very goddamn good job of doing it.
Yes. The Democratic Socialists, we like competition. We want the markets to continue. We don't want to just. We're not looking for an overthrow of America. We're not looking for a complete change in our economy. We want to put controls on the market to make sure these monopolies don't exist, to make sure that there isn't a company that is, or some corporation that's strong arming all of the little people at the bottom. We're trying to make sure that the small businesses can succeed, that they have an actual fucking chance, you know?
I do want to say, I think that this was a fatal flaw of Bernie, is actually identifying as a Democratic socialist instead of... Because when he was talking, he was always aligning himself with the Scandinavian model, which is social democrats, which you can argue more or less may be socialism or may not be. But I think in a way that basically ended up providing not only cover for, say, genuine communists, but also it provided an attack point, a weak point for people who are concerned predominantly with market share and GDP, to attack policies which may end up actually being good for many Americans.
So the reason why he didn't do that is because Social Democrats was a thing in the U.S. already in like the 1970s. It really didn't work out well at all.
Okay, at least that is a point that I will have to look into more. Yeah, I was unaware of that actually.
Consumers can choose, workers can move, and incumbents can fail.
So what happens when the only incumbent in the New York City grocery business is the government, when they're the only store open? Where are you going to get a job if you don't like working at that grocery store? This is going to take opportunities away from people. This is going to take opportunities away from those who might want to start a business. It's going to take opportunities away from people who want to have mobility as a worker and want to bargain for better wages, because you can't do that if there aren't a whole bunch of places to work at. You can't do that if you can't tell your boss at the city-run grocery store, hey, I want to leave, I want to go work somewhere else. They're going to say, hey, it's the only job in town, man. You either take it or leave it, or you'll be unemployed.
The only jobs are grocery stores. There have never been another job in a city other than grocery stores. The only place you could ever theoretically be a cashier at is a grocery store. There is no other store other than a grocery store. No store has ever existed that does not sell groceries. That Best Buy is, in fact, a grocery store. That Guitar Center is, in fact, a grocery store.
The only jobs in New York are grocery store jobs. That's what they're known for, right?
Yeah.
You know, the grocery capital of America, New York City.
Yeah, fucking New York City, famed for Grocery Street. And the grocery market.
Yeah. Also, no one's going to work at the state-run grocery store, I guess.
Yeah.
Getting free groceries like everybody else. Do you want that? Like, this is economic disaster. And how do new businesses come into this market? How do new businesses compete with the city-run grocery store? They can't, because the second they start, they're going to be taxed and punished into oblivion for even trying, and that is a travesty. And it's gonna happen to New York. The second these things open, you're gonna see stores going out of business. They're gonna lose their customers. And you know what else? The looting that takes place in the private stores that close that Target, well, that's not gonna close the city-run store, because they get all their money from everybody else. They've got all the public's money. The looters, they're gonna be able to steal. Yeah, the shelves might be empty. They'll just raise taxes. They're not gonna arrest anybody there. They're stealing from the rest of us. These criminals are just emulating what they see the store and the government and the communists doing. What do you think about that? I'll see you in the next video.
All right. One sec. I'm not throwing on another one of these guys' videos. We'll be here until 3 a.m. I just want to check out. I want to check out the comments here. Imagine paying taxes that are used to put yourself out of business. Yes, but you're not the only one paying taxes. They voted for their demise. No federal assistance, no bailouts. Control the food, control the people. A free supermarket is just called a food bank, except it's not free.
It's not free. Yeah.
He was sent to destroy New York City, and he absolutely will. Well,
why would they? Really bad job at it.
Yeah.
He balanced the budget.
I'm not the biggest Mamdani fan, but at the same time, you would think that destroying New York City would not be the end goal. There would probably be a goal of destroying, say, America, in which case you would actually want to make New York City successful so you could inflict a catastrophe of a greater scale. This is just something you can think through even basic applications of logic. Yeah. I think it's nice of New York to sacrifice itself to give us a modern example of why socialism doesn't work. And if that's true, I will definitely listen to that. I mean, genuinely. If something doesn't work, I will change my opinion. On this specific thing, it doesn't seem like a bad idea.
If Mamdani's New York would genuinely be a huge disaster, I would probably give up on the idea of socialism too.
NYC is going to be like Venezuela. No, because Venezuela was an oil-driven economy, and any economy that's driven solely by a singular resource is going to be far less stable than what you would see in a more diverse economy. That's why
what happened to the USSR.
Yeah.
Literally exactly the same thing. It was oil.
Yeah. Oil-rich countries almost never do well.
Yeah. And the worst part for the USSR is the oil was the only thing they had. They were not a rich country. They started off as a poor country with like a really uneducated people, and then they decided, let's just skip everything and just try to go straight to like an authoritarian form of communism.
Who's going to stop people from raiding the city grocery store and not paying? Hopefully the police. Now, that is one of the issues I agree with Mamdani on, is I don't think he's tough enough on people doing shit like that. And yeah, so basically, yeah, I think now that it is about to be midnight,
yeah, we can save the rest of the stuff that we have for some other time.
Yeah, I might be down to stream tomorrow as well. I am going to be trying to make this more consistent than I previously was.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a solid stream. I am actually going to see how long were we on that one video. Okay, so I'm seeing here it's over an hour on just that one video. Okay. So what we've learned,
less than 20 minutes. A less than 20-minute video.
What we have learned is if we want to fucking drag out the stream, fucking throw on one video. Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay, so this is making the whole thing with Asmongold make a little bit more sense. Why he didn't respond to that Birdman video that was an hour long. Because if this is what it's like, then yeah, that hour-long video would be his entire stream for the whole week.
Yeah, holy shit. Oh, fuck. Well, everyone, I hope you all have a great rest of the night. I'm gonna call it. Have a good one.
Yeah.